And it looks like we are going free. How is everybody doing? How many people do we have with us so far today? I see Seaver is already in the crowd. Great to see you. I think I saw Laura. Mary is in there. I've had a very busy and stressful morning, so I have not been able to shave. if you can't tell, I have not been able to shave. There's Ryan Manley, Timothy. Great to see you all. John is here. RC is here. Great to see you, my good friend. Joel is here. And there's Laurel. I saw her indeed. There's George, Joseph. Great to see everybody here. Now, what do we have today? I think we have some other people who are still streaming, don't we? Some other communities, some other channels. How funny what, that I couldn't shave? Yes. It's been a very difficult it's been a very difficult morning. Promethean hails in return, imminent rain. Great to see you. Antonio, David, Johnny, Concerned World Citizen, Rage, Verbo Tempestus. Hey, great, and Mother Hen, great to see you both. Great to see you here. Yes, Prater is here. Great to see you. Josh Randall is here. Smoking Goat, Sin 526. Surrounded by the best of humanity, ladies and gentlemen. And it appears, unless I'm seeing something that's not working properly, it appears that our good friend Ryan Manley has already super chatted $2. And no, you know what? That is not functioning properly. That is from a previous entropy. So entropy is open and it is working, but for some reason it is showing me Ryan's Manley's super chat from the tap that we did the other day when the stream was either there's Jonas, great to see you. Art Deco, good to see you. When we were either intentionally undermined, some sabotage, or what is most likely the case is that we have too much diversity and too much equality at YouTube. Because when you have equality, you can't have excellence. And eventually, as you all know, as the MC goes, eventually you can't even have competence. So the beginning of the stream started, if those of you who were not with us, the beginning of the stream, it started and there was no sound, but everybody could see us. And we worked in the background and we eventually got things to work by bubblegum and scotch tape. So either it was intentional or it was because of all of that great equality that makes us stronger. But over on Entropy, it's open. If you want to head over there, you can. And just as always, I'll repeat that. Jonas is saying it's 22:08 already where he is. Yes, it's sneaking into the night. There's Sifu. Great to see you. And the other Josh Randall, we got both of them here. Great to see you both. We have Josh Randall's in stereo, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see. Yes, the 5 o'clock shadow. No, it's the 5 o'clock shadow no guilt stream today. Yes, too busy to shave, I'm afraid. Had a lot going on. But we're going to have a great time here together, and we're going to do some learning, and we're going to be getting stronger. This is a really important topic. Andre, great to see you. Obviously, I'm going to ask you all, if you could, to tweet out the stream right now, to gab it, to let your circles of influence know so we can get this to as many people as possible. And it is growing, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting more people all the time, even though, and we confirmed this, we confirmed it, that YouTube is manipulating the subscriber count. They may even be manipulating the live viewer count. They may even be manipulating the replay count. How did we confirm it? And I'll tell you that we are growing the community rapidly because the daily number of messages that come to me is steadily going up. It's not the same folks writing over and over. And mind you, I am going to get to every single one of you. If you have written a message to me, it should not be more than a month old before I've responded. But I'm going to be catching up on all of you. You all are all very important. The things you want to say are important. The questions you have are important, and I will be getting to you. But I know our community is rapidly growing because I'm getting all of these messages from brand new people who are coming to the cause of white well-being. And absolutely beautiful stories, wonderful people, beautiful stories coming from all parts of the, I guess we could call socio-political spectrum, and from countries all around the world. So it's a really meaningful and heartwarming thing to watch this growth. And you all are a part of that growth and an element of it, a factor of it. You're helping to cause it to happen, helping to get the lexicon and the dialectics of going free out to the people, our people around the world, as a message of love and hope. And it looks like I see Jilly Storm is here, and she's asking what happened to my shaving plans. Well, I've been really busy this morning, unable to get some things done, and shaving was one of those things that had to get sacrificed in the process of getting ready for you all here today to have a great conversation. But I wanted to briefly mention the YouTube and how we realized, how we really identified that they are manipulating the numbers. And the way we did it is that I have been stuck on, and this is not a, as I begin to say this, it's going to sound almost juvenile, and I feel almost juvenile, but it is a absolutely mature assessment of the growth pattern of the subscriber count to the channel, and then the sudden plateauing. Now, obviously, if we were in a world where there was an anti-whiteism, and I'm talking about a completely different subject matter, a plateau can happen. Plateaus can happen. Plateaus happen in business. So that in and of itself is not unusual. We have to view these things in the context of anti-whiteism, in the context of the folks who control and dominate YouTube, what their ideology is, their anti-white ideology that they profess with no shame. In fact, they profess with joy in their hearts, a big celebration of white erasure, in the with the word that they use for white erasure being diversity. And of course, we all know when they say diversity, it means fewer of you, fewer of me. It means your little boy and little girls are not going to be able to get into that university, not going to be able to get that job, because they're going to have diversity there. And they have new diversity goals every quarter. And even from the biggest international companies, the national companies, all the way down to mom and pops. I've had people send me little mom and pop store, and they're saying, oh, we want an applicant, well, a non-white applicant. But of course, they're going to phrase it differently, but we don't use the language of white oppression. So now that would be unbelievable. It is illegal, technically, but it's legal in the West because you are legally permitted to discriminate against Western kind. It is in our laws. It is at the state level. It's at the federal level. It's in countries all around the world. So this is a fact. But so we have this plateau on my subscriber count, and I have been observing it. I've been keeping an eye on it. And when it got really weird was when we reached 15,900, because every time it would reach 15,009. And now, mind you, once it got to this point, I was paying close attention. Got to 15,009, and then it would drop 8, and then get up to 15,009, drop 5, get up to 15,009, drop 11, get up to 15,901, drop 6, get up to 15, and again and again until it just got ludicrous. So I decided that I would do a little test. I was on PWR, and I told everybody watching PWR, this is what I believe is happening. And I want you all to put eyes on my subscriber count, because I believe that if this is some sort of underhanded anti-white activity, then once they realize that people are watching, not just the channel holder, once they realize that many people could potentially be watching, they would quit. And guess what happened? It immediately went beyond 15,900 and has been slowly climbing every day. So we proved there is the odds that that would be. I mean, we could get a somebody. I'm pretty good at math, but we could get somebody who is a top-notch mathematician, and we could do the odds on what would be the chances that this would play out, and it would just be just pure chance that it ended up now suddenly growing right after I do that little experiment. I'm sure I would win the Mega Millions, nationwide lottery here in the U.S. a dozen times over before I would have that happen by pure chance. Looks like we do have a super chat that has come in, and this one is by Ryan Manley, super chatting $9.99, writing, "We love you and your work for us. We have the truth. I will always support your work. Much respect, brother." Well, much respect in return, Ryan. You are a great hero and member of our community. Been here for a long time. Great to see you. Let me take a quick look at some of the other things that have been said. And of course, a reminder to you all, you can super chat on YouTube. Your comments, questions will be read absolutely if you super chat. And I have even opened for the shenanigans that the anti-whites have played, the duplicity and underhanded dealing that they have played during our past streams, where the super chat has, even though it's been through YouTube, has not come up on the stream. I have my other screen open to be able to take a look at that from time to time to make sure that we are catching everybody who super chats on YouTube. Now, if you super chat on YouTube, that's at 33%. If you super chat over on Entropy, that is 15%. And if you super chat by way of the familiar alternative, which you will find down in the description, that is at 4%. So the familiar alternative, you'll have to do some digging. Zach writing, "What's up, No White Guilt? I didn't get a notification." Yeah, what a thank you for sharing that intel. In fact, everyone, please do speak up. We need to make it known. Newcomers to our community also need to see. There'll be somebody new in the chat. Zach has just done a great service for our community by mentioning that he didn't get a notification, even though I sent several notifications and sent notifications over different platforms, sent several notifications over YouTube. It's important because there'll be people, even though you've heard 1,000 times about the notifications, someone new will be here in the chat, or someone new will show up and watch this video in replay. And by the way, hello to all of you in replay who only get an opportunity to watch these shows in replay. I want to give a specific hello and a spotlight to you and thank you for coming to our community. I realize that you can't always make the time to be with us when I'm able to go live, and I deeply appreciate that you come in later after the fact and you watch these streams when you have the time to do so, when you have the time to fit them into your busy schedule. So a big salute to all of you who are never able to make it to these live streams, are only hearing my voice now in replay, seeing my image in replay. A big thank you to you, a big spotlight on all of you. And I'm going to do more to thank you all and recognize you all in the future. I know that the community of those who are watching in replay is larger than the community who's able to see during live streams. And so a big thank you to you. Thank you for being here. So Zach is doing a great service because there'll be someone new to the white positive sphere, to going free, and they'll have no clue that we are attacked like we are attacked. I was having a series of conversations with a CivNat that he was absolutely, when he began to see all of the censorship that is inflicted upon us, that they don't even experience a fraction of, he was absolutely stupefied and realized that then at that point that, wait, there's something to what you all are saying, because he and those in his circles have no idea the amount of harm that is inflicted on those who openly say that they advocate for white well-being. Now, he has not gone that far yet, but he is now much more likely to continue maturing sociopolitically as a consequence. This has really piqued his interest, all of the oppressive censorship. So, not getting the notification, thank you, Zach. Folks will read that and they'll say, what do you mean YouTube doesn't send out notifications? What is it about what these people are saying? What is it about what No White Guilt is saying? What is it about this process of going free that all of this censorship has to be implemented against it. This is a very powerful tool to use in reaching out to your friends, family, and loved ones and talking to them about what we're doing here, and the simple fact that if it were valueless, if it were even, I mean, for God's sakes, we all know this on these different channels, we can't even say anymore because it's immediate banning. But we all know that there are things on YouTube and other platforms that are absolutely reprehensible, truly reprehensible, disgusting things that all of healthy humanity abhor. That those kind of things show up on YouTube and they survive, and they show up on other platforms and survive. There are illegal things that are able to prosper on this and other social media platforms that do everything they can to slit our throats. And so the fact that this is the fact is something that you can share with those people you're trying to help to go free. That's going to pique their interest, as I have done with this CivNat. So thank you very much for that, Zach. Let's see what we have. Josh Randall super chatting $5. Did everyone order their copy of the White People's Quarterly yet? Thank you very much for mentioning the White People's Quarterly. It's a brand new magazine. I submitted a piece for it. It's several snippets from Born Guilty that you all will find very interesting. The great Jared George has written a poem that is in the magazine. I have already ordered mine, and it is on its way. I can't wait to have it. I can't wait to hold it up in front of all of you. So please do look into that. And if anybody is out there and is willing to share where they can get this information in the chat, please do so, because I really would like all of you knowing about this magazine. The thing that's really wonderful about it, and Tony has done, everybody who has contributed and participated has done an amazing job. We're going to have Jared, George, and I are going to have Tony on in the near future to talk about the magazine. It is the kind of thing that you can show all of your family. It doesn't have a bunch of strange symbolism. It doesn't look like something that is made for adult children with all of the flowers. It's very mature. It's a very mature magazine, and visually vivid and arresting. So please, check it out. I think it's going to be an exciting venture, and I hope we get to see. I'll be willing to participate more, and I hope we get to see many more copies come out in the near future. An excellent way to spread white well-being. We're doing great work here, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing great work over there at the White People's Quarterly. Rod 1984 super chatted $10 Australian. Thank you very much from down under. It is tomorrow for you all. It's a perfect time. This is a great time to live stream because I can speak to so many of our family around planet Earth, thanks to the creations of our people, the internet, the computers, etc. Thanks to the good work and genius of our people, we can now speak and we can share this message, this curative contagion, to our folks all around the world. And I'm going to be reading a little bit of a couple of statements from people who have been sharing, and this is something that I'm going to want to do in the future a little bit more of, is share some of these wonderful messages with you all, of people who are implementing going free and having smashing success doing so. Exactly the kind of smashing success that I have seen time and again when people have implemented these strategies. So, and as I say, a second edition of Going Free is going to be even stronger. We're going to set it up in a way, I think initially it's going to be offered digitally so that everybody can get themselves a copy. But I think what I would like to do, and perhaps some of you can give me your feedback, I'd like to set it up in a way, a digital version, maybe on Gumroad. Is that what it's called? That other another platform where you all can purchase the second edition of Going Free, and then as I update, you can go back and read the updates. So we can talk about the updates here, things that are added, and then you can go back and update. Whereas I do not think, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, if you purchase a version of a book and then in digital form, say by way of Kindle, and then the author changes something in the book, you can't get the changed version easily. At least you have to go through a process of calling Amazon, deleting the original download thread, because if you just delete it from your Kindle Fire and then you download the book again, you'll just be downloading what you previously downloaded rather than the updated. Is that true? At least that's the way it was in the past. It may have changed by now. So maybe we have more options. So great to see you, and thank you very much for the super chat. Arnold saying, great work and thoughts. Thank you so much. Okay, Jimmy says you can update books on Kindle. Jimmy, do you know if you are able to merely delete your current edition and then upload the book again with the changes? Because in the past, you had to actually speak to someone at Amazon. And the only reason I know that is because I purchased books to read, and then changes were made. I deleted the old version off of my Kindle, downloaded again, and I got the version I had purchased. And then by calling, I was able to get the updated version. Commander Rockwell asks, Snow White Gill, it's calisthenics or weightlifting? A little bit of both, my good friend. And for your children, you all should know that this is, oh, and by the way, RC, the Twitter Titan, is here. I mentioned RC was here a little bit earlier, but this man is the Twitter Titan of our community. So if you don't follow him, you should. And I think he wrote something here, and I'll look to it in just a second. But I do want to mention, for your children, do not allow children, I guess I'll just say little boys, because who's allowing their little girls to lift weights? Don't allow your little boys to lift weights. It's going to stunt their growth. Do body weight. So if it's weights that is body weight, then you could. So if you want your little boy to do bench press and it's the same weight that he would press if he were doing push-ups, then more power to him. But you're a young man. I mean, I went through rigorous body weight exercises when I was a young man, and I was magnificently strong for my age, and which is why I was able to defend myself very well against the anti-whites who attacked me, specifically in junior high school. The non-white anti-whites who physically attacked me. RC writes, that's happened to me on Twitter. Okay, must be talking about the count being stuck. So that's happened to me on Twitter, steadily increasing over the last year or so. People tell me every day that they don't get notifications. Oh, perhaps this is about notifications of my posts or replies to their posts. Let's talk about it, folks. If RC does makes a post and you don't get an alert about the post, make sure you write on the thread, I didn't get an alert about this post, so that every new person arriving in our community sees the level of oppression, sees the suppression, sees the censorship. They want, you know how the human animal works. You know, the more we are told not to look at something, the more we want to see what it is. That's just the human animal. And so make sure that they know, those coming to the community, that there is this level of censorship and silencing, because it is not it's old hat to us, but it is not old hat to those who are new to the community. So thank you very much. So let's see what else we have going on here. I want to mention to everyone now, as I say earlier, and we'll get into the material right away, because I know that, and if somebody could keep me abreast of Poseidon, he's supposed to be streaming at some point today, and we don't want to run over his toes too much. There's Cindy Ben, good to see you here with us. AB, is here from the UK, says it's a great time. I think I mentioned you, JT, earlier in the show. Good to see you. Lance is here. High Speed Drifter. Yes, very good to see you. I used to do a lot of drifting back in the, folks, I don't know if you know what that is. It's sliding sideways against the grain of the wheel on a motorized vehicle. So it's usually cars, but it can be four-wheelers, it can be motorcycles, it can be three-wheelers. I've seen it done with a number of different things, but I cannot tell you how much fun it is to drift in a vehicle. I used to do that quite a little bit years ago. So let's see. Oh, I was mentioning earlier, if you could please tweet Gab, Facebook, Minds. What else do we have? VK, and that the stream is going on. And I'm on 2 new platforms. So if you could follow me there as well. Kanad is the new one, and you will find it's toward the bottom of the description of this video. Kanad, it's another platform, and Parler is another platform that is new and or reasonably new, I guess, and out there. So if you could follow me on those platforms as well, and if you are already on those platforms, please send this link out, let people know that we are going free, doing something more than the average stream. There's Simon JJ. Well, and this Simon mentioned also and I don't know if this is the same, this is not the same Simon, but I don't believe, but mentioned that he had his channel has been stuck at 15.8 to 15.9 for a great many months now as well. Again, indicating that these anti-whites have sat down. This is Simon Harris I'm talking about. That these anti-whites have sat down. They in boardrooms, and they have said, how are we going to silence the community for white well-being? How are we going to prevent these people from stopping us from inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization? Think about that for a moment. Just think about that. Really let that sink in, that there are people so evil, so vicious, so maniacal, that they're saying, how can we prevent? Now they can tap right. They are tapping right in here. And in fact, Cross Eyes on the right is watching and will write another article as he has recently done, can hear very plainly what we are saying. They can hear very plainly that everything we are about. I now have a great many hours of content available. I have books available. You can see exactly what I stand for. And yet they still misrepresent me, still misrepresent what we are doing to the general public. So what does that tell you about the people we are dealing with, our victimizers? It tells us that they're monsters. They're unscrupulous. They're unreasonable, that they are as moral as the rapist sitting in a jail cell right now. They are as immoral as the child who butchered his or her family in the middle of the night. That is the mentality of person that you're dealing with. Just because they sit in a boardroom in a tall building and they have expensive clothing on, and the table is beautiful and the carpet is beautiful and the flat screen TVs are expensive, just because they have all of that encasing them doesn't change the animal, the person that's sitting in that room, no different than the one sitting in the jail cell, perhaps even on death row for some absolutely gruesome act of butchering the family or gang raping. That is the kind of people that you're dealing with. We, in the community for white well-being, advocates for white well-being, that is what we are. All of you anti-whites out there that are hearing the streams again and again, looking at what I'm writing again and again, we are advocates for white well-being. I am an advocate for white well-being. If you do not call me what I identify as, you are misrepresenting me. It's no different than if you want to call yourself a journalist, a supposed journalist. It's no different than me saying, well, you're a pedophile. If you want to be called a journalist, and I or someone else chooses to call you a pedophile, you're going to find that very unreasonable and very unscrupulous. And so you need to either demonstrate that you have some shred of, or you want to even pretend that you have some shred of decency, so that you could maybe make your articles a little bit more believable, your typed pieces a little bit more believable. But what you will do, and what the folks in these boardrooms do, ladies and gentlemen, is that instead they say, how can we make these people look evil? How can we make the general public afraid of these people? How can we make the general public look at these folks in a way that upholds and proves the anti-white narrative? That is the kind of people you are dealing with. This is something conservatives never understand, because they're endlessly projecting their innocence and naivete onto everyone and everything around them. They endlessly look out at the villains and the monsters in the village, and they say, well, they really couldn't be a villain or a monster because I can't even imagine what that would be like. Well, yes, you can't imagine what it would be like, but there are such human beings, which is why I say the spectrum is not right and left. The spectrum is vertical now. It is good and evil. That is what, and it's not religious connotation at all, although you can say that there's a religious connotation. But surely there are things that human beings are capable of that without the need of spiritual beings, we can define as evil. And that is what these anti-whites are behind. So let's see what else we have. So yes, once again, the Canard and Parlor. Eddie super chatting with $10. Hold on, my screen just give me a moment. Well, while it tries to fix itself, let's move on. Okay, it looks like, all right, it looks like No Apologies has ended. And if somebody, like I say, could keep me abreast of the Poseidon stream, let me know when he's going to stream, so that we don't run over him. All right. Also, this is the mug, by the way, that the design that the great Phoenix Fire created, and it is available at nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com. nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com. Sin 526. Why can't I see the rest of the chat? I see Sin 526 says, my stubble is intriguing the fashy ladies. And well, this is what happens when I have no time. Let me see if I can fix this really quick. If you all, while I try to see what I can do with this, if you could do the tweet or a gab. Okay. Okay. Eddie says the pierogies for everyone except for the anti-whites. $10. Thank you very much for that kind investment in the cause of white well-being, my good friend. Zachary Rose asking, have I already addressed Trump? If you all have news, by the way, that you would like me to speak to while we are on today, bring it up. Make sure you can just ask in the chat. I may see it, I may not see it. If you tag me, that seriously ups the chances of me seeing it. And then, as you all know, if you super chat, then that is just about a certainty that it's not going to get away from me. So let's see what Zachary says. Have you already addressed Trump denouncing his own supporters and all the Republican cucking in general about the squad? Well, it is so absolutely infantile and a demonstration. There's a phrase. It may be just a Southern phrase. If it's not just a Southern phrase, please correct me. But the phrase goes, "Simple pleasures for simple minds." Is that anywhere else in America, UK, Australia? We have people from all over. Simple pleasures for simple minds, and simple minds come up with these. So they are a little. They have the minds of children. They have these individuals, not these groups of races or not these religions, whatever they practice. The minds of these individuals are the minds of children. And they demonstrate this with this little childish, we're the squad nonsense. So what actually happened with these these leaders and these heroes of our community? Let's see if I missed anything in here. Somebody could tell me what Trump actually said. Are people? I guess I heard that people were saying, send her back. Are they chanting that? Did he renounce that? RC says the only way anti-whites can actually drive people away from the pro-white message is by blatantly lying about it. There's literally no other way for them to combat our message. Beautifully said. This is why RC is the Twitter titan. Beautifully said, my friend. All right, let's see. Okay, all right, let's see if I've got a message here. Okay. Arnold Schwartz is here. Did I mention you? Oh, I see right now. You're right. Arnold Schwartz says, I'm down to about a 405 bench now. Well, what do you power lift? What are you repping that? What's the... Good to have you here, though. Good to see you. Okay, we just had a super chat come in by way of the familiar alternative. Slots super chatting with $5. Thank you very much. Writing, I've experienced a bum out. Things look bad. But I've developed a habit of being pro-white, white positive, fighting for sanity for 10 years, which means even when I'm undead, I'm working the only way I know, pro-white. Eventually, probably, it'll result in vindication. Yes, it will. It absolutely will. You develop a habit. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to tell you the most powerful fuel for human motivation. It works for me. It works for everyone. It has motivated me through the good times. It has motivated me through the bad times. And you all will be able to use this. It does take some effort. It's not a light switch. But you all will be able to use this information and reach similar or superior heights. So do we know does anybody know exactly what Trump did? I see Laurel is asking, what time is Poseidon streaming? We have some questions over on entropy that I'm going to be sure to get to. Yonash over on entropy writes, will we have Squatting Slav? Well, we've already had him, and we will have him again on our channels. If you look back through the videos, you'll find that he has been a guest, and he's a great guy. He's fun to talk with. Hey, I see Roy Danton is here. Great to see you. Getting on entropy writes. Edgar Allen writes, what are some good ways to practice speaking and social skills? Well, if I'm going to guess that you're asking that question as it meshes with what we do here in the Cause for White Wellbeing. So there are two things. The first thing is, and this is one of the things I recommend in Go Free, and that is get yourself a pseudonym, a fake name, and even if you have one now, a new one will make you feel even freer to say what you want to say. And use a VPN. You're going to need a VPN to watch these videos in replay anyhow. Use a VPN to be able to act out your and practice the entirety of all the things that you're being taught in Go Free. So get onto message boards, get onto streams, go out onto platforms that you would normally go to, raise these issues. You'll be able to engage with other people. They'll give you anti-white responses, then go and look at what the proper response would be, work it out in your mind, and then respond to the person. And remember that the entire time, that especially if it's somebody that you cannot persuade to go free, somebody who's perhaps truly anti-white, that there are two things that you're doing. You're, number one, you're trying to win those who read the thread over. Remember that. That's the purpose of the conversation. If you can't win the person over that you're talking to, the purpose of the conversation becomes winning those over who read the conversation. The second thing is you're practicing on the types of responses that you should have. You're practicing dealing with the mean pathogens that are getting triggered in your head that paralyze you the moment you read these anti-white responses. And I know you all, you feel it. I feel everyone has felt it. Everyone has felt it because we've all been infected the exact same way. So you need to get accustomed to addressing that and formulating your responses. You then also can be out with friends and family. And if you are in a, or strangers, if you are in a safe place, one of the things I will recommend, especially to guys, not so easy to do for ladies, but if you're in a safe place, say, a coffee shop in suburbia, and nobody's going to be jumping you for saying something that isn't anti-white, say something out loud. You pick up a newspaper and say something out loud so that the people around you will hear, and look up and see if any of them are going to be amenable to something you might have to say, and then start talking. You don't know this person. You're never going to see them again. It is a fabulous opportunity to practice your speaking skills. And I do it everywhere I go. I talk to people. I have no idea who they are, and I'll start talking. And sometimes people are really inwardly focused, and so don't feel nervous if somebody is not an affable person and doesn't respond with conversation. Sometimes people they have things going on in their lives, something, they've just had their car repoed, or who knows. But other times people are just introverted and they can't talk to strangers or anyone. So don't blame yourself. If somebody has an issue, then let them go, move on to the next person, start up another conversation with someone else. You can start with something even totally neutral, and then say, can you believe X, Y, or Z? Best case scenario is you get somebody who's a little bit anti-white. You get a vague, for example, and then you can begin having these discussions and doing a little bit of teaching. And remember, the best way to learn is by way of teaching. So that is a way. And then, of course, you can also, this is probably the weakest method, is to go research online about methods to speak to people in public. Really, you'll get better the more you do it. It's practice. It's the case with all things. I never would have gotten as good as I got in sports by reading about how to do X, Y, or Z. I had to do it again and again. Endless repetition. So you just have to get out there and do it. So I strongly encourage that. JT Smith, super chatting £3. Thank you very much. Writing nothing but saying a lot with those £3. I deeply appreciate that. Dresden, the familiar alternative is if you go down, we don't say it here on the show. So if you go down into the description, and you'll see the list of methods by which you can super chat, you can make an investment, and have a comment read by me. And one of those methods, you'll see that I say don't use it right now. And then the exact same platform doesn't have such verbiage. Go to that platform and you will be able to super chat at 4%. 4%. All right. Imminent Rain. You seem so adept at the winning hearts and minds part of our struggle. I aspire to that. Do you have a background in public speaking or diplomacy? I admire your social savvy. Well, thank you very much. That's most kind of you, Imminent Rain. Thank you. I don't have any special talents when it comes to this. I just have tenacity. I have heart, and I stick with it. When I get in front of a crowd to speak, I mean, obviously the largest crowds have been before crowds of our people, and wanting with the whole of your heart to do something truly noble really goes a long way to, I guess, defeating the nervousness, defeating the inability to find words. It does a lot because if you want it and it's something beautiful and heroic, which is what we want, then by practicing and with that passion, you'll have it. It'll happen. So that's really all it takes. There's nothing special. Now, obviously, I mean, we know the importance of genetics. We know that there are people who are born with whatever chemical composition of the mind that they have and are able to just speak endlessly, garrulously, and feel no concern whatsoever, no matter who they're in front of. Yeah, there are such people. I'm not one of them, but I just have desire, just have love for our people, and I want to do the right thing. This is the right thing. So to me, it doesn't matter that Cross Eyes on the Right is going to oppose me, or that different groups have tried to get me fired in the past. What matters to me is that I'm doing the right thing. I know that these people are the real bad guys. They're the real antagonists in this story. So I don't feel the least bit ashamed or afraid, or, well, I guess let me rephrase the afraid part. Fear is a human response, and we can't have courage if we don't have fear. So fear is what we defeat, and we do the right thing. So I guess when I say I don't feel afraid, what I'm really trying to say is that I muster the courage to overcome the instinctual, natural fear. If you didn't have any fear, then you couldn't be courageous. So you could never be a hero. You could never be. You could never have done the heroic thing, and you would probably die quite young. Division of Labor says, do you think veganism is to malnourish our people? It needs a lot of supplementation as compared to natural omnivorous diets. I have always seen people who go into veganism do poorly health-wise. Now, I know that there are some, especially those who are selling some sort of vegan product, that say they're in fabulous health and they've never felt so great since they gave up all of this other stuff in their diets. The ones that I've seen that have tried it, that I know, the people who are honest, I can trust, have done poorly. Especially, the women. There, so many of their cycles, they get wrecked. The guys lose all of their muscle mass, and even things like ligaments and tendons start popping and going bad. But everyone has a unique composition. And it may be that animal products or something that's in animal products or what have you is making you very ill. And if you need to get away from those things because it's making you very ill, and then you can be a vegan and you can supplement by some other means, and you feel revitalized, by all means. But I think as a general diet, I've spoken about it before, my diet is no dairy of any kind, no wheat or flour of any kind, a lot of ham, a lot of water, coffee, vegetables. So that is what works for me, and I think that's what will work for most. And I was talking with a woman the other day, and I was pointing out that so many women, especially when they get older, to maintain a certain physique of being thin, like when they were young women, they begin starving themselves. They take, and all you ladies, listen up to this, or you guys that have your wife or girlfriend is making this poor decision, listen up so you can share this information. 100 calories from a pixie stick is not the same as 100 calories from, say, a safe plant-based protein shake, or 100 calories from meat. It's not the same at all. But what ends up happening is, because so many marketers sell on this, how many calorie count, so many diets, it's just all about the counting of the calories. People get focused on the calories, just this number that they can play with. And so they say, well, that 100 calories from the pixie. Well, by the way, a pixie stick is just it's a straw with sugar inside. So if in your country that makes no sense to you, then that's all it is. It's just flavored sugar. So they say, well, what they really end up doing is they say, well, this is 100 calories. That's 100 calories. I'm not going to have those calories. But if I'm going to cheat, I'm going to have something that tastes really good, like this flavored sugar. So what happens with the sugar is it's a simple carbohydrate. You have to immediately use it, or it immediately becomes fat. You can say the same thing about complex carbs, like potatoes or pastas or things like this. They need to be used or they become fat. If you take in 100 calories of protein from meat, it is all going to be used. None of it is going to become fat. Do you understand that, ladies? Your body is going to use all of it, every single calorie of it, because so many processes in your body require protein, not the least of which are your muscles. So what ends up happening to these ladies is they get this, what I refer to as sloppy skinny. They starve themselves, and what do they cut out? They say, well, the protein is the least tasty element of the diet. So they just cut that all out. And what ends up happening is the body then doesn't have protein to maintain the rigidity and the firmness, etc., of the muscles they have. So their muscles end up resembling fat. Their thighs, they think, oh, my thigh's so fat. No, your muscles, the hamstrings, the quads in your leg are just jello, because you don't eat enough protein to make them firm. You wouldn't have to work out. So this is a tip for ladies. If you do nothing, change nothing about your life, your workouts, etc., change nothing. Get rid of a bunch of those calories that are taken in by way of simple or complex carbs, and bring in protein, the same number of calories, and your body will start firming up. You will see a difference. But also note that protein isn't only needed for your muscles. I know that's what it's needed for a lot of important processes in the body. So you do want to take it in. When you start getting wacky and you can't think straight and a lot goes wrong with other parts of your body, it's because you're not getting adequate protein. So ladies, if you do that, if you get rid of some of those calories from complex and simple carbs, and you bring in calories from protein, and you begin to see a difference, let us know. I promise you will. Most of the time, older ladies, they don't do this because they're so focused on that number of calories, and these calories over here, tasty, and those calories over there, not so tasty. So let's get into this. Let's get into this show. Machiavelli sucks, writing high vocabulary, no white guilt. Thank you very much. Actually, I do my best to not use the larger words, because people usually use large words to impress others. I'm not here to impress you. What ends up happening is a very large vocabulary ends up preventing proper communication. If you can't understand me, what good is it? So I don't need people to think that No White Guilt is bright because of his vocabulary. In fact, if you look at some of my earliest videos, I spoke the way that I spoke to everyone in those videos. And in seeking advice from other people and getting input, getting feedback, folks were saying, I don't know what that word is. I don't know what that word is. And I want to help our people. That doesn't do anything for our people. So I try to curtail it as much as possible. But thank you for that nonetheless. Simon JJ says, I do probe people tentatively about their anti-white sentiment. I think my degraded energy, exhausted nature, natural resources deteriorated. Wait, chat jumped. Let's see, start over. I do probe people tentatively about anti-white sentiment. I think my next step is to become louder. Excellent idea, Jason. Thank you so much. And get back to us and let us know how that conversation goes at the next coffee shop or the next. I had a conversation. Here's a conversation that I had. I'll tell you, and we can get rolling here. Let me just check over here. Okay, we have some super chats coming in over on Entropy. So we're going to get to those. Absolutely. Don't go anywhere. If you have super chatted over there, we are going to get to you. So phones blowing up. The stream is growing. I'm loving it. We're going free, ladies and gentlemen. I was at a coffee shop, and I struck up a conversation with the guy behind the register about what was it specifically about? It had to do with the Constitution. There was something going on about some sort of change to the Constitution. It might have been about getting away from the Electoral College, and I could tell that the guy behind the register was anti-white. So I just wanted to trap him for the benefit of the people that also work there and the people behind me in line for a little bit of entertainment. I've done that more than a handful of times. And he said, I said, well, you want to believe, or you believe that the Constitution should be a living document, right? This is one of their mean pathogens, ladies and gentlemen. And we should, if I don't already have that in the second edition, I should make sure that it is. He said, well, it's a living document. And I said, well, what do you mean by a living document? He said, well, it should be able to be changed. I said, well, do you know it's able to be changed? But the process has been made difficult so that it's not easily changed by the whim of the year, by the whim of the decade. And he said, no, it should be living, breathing, living. And how odd is it for an anti-white to be talking about how the document should be, this piece of paper should be living and breathing. But the thing that is living and breathing in the womb of a woman can be murdered. That's okay. But and then the body parts sold to companies to experiment on and whatever around the world. That living and breathing thing, no, that can be killed, even though it looks like a person, even though it is a person. That can be murdered and cut up into pieces and then sold. But a document suddenly needs to be living and breathing. Well, guess what? They don't have a universal position. Big surprise. Big surprise. They don't have a universal position when it comes to documents. They don't want them all living and breathing. No, I said, oh, okay, you want it to be living and breathing that can be changed easily. I said, in the Constitution, it makes black people, we white people, made the decision to make black people citizens of our country that we created. And so we put that into the Constitution. Black people did not do that. They had no power to do that. We did that for them. We said, we are going to take you in as citizens of this country. And so I said, that's said in the Constitution, is it not? And he said, yeah, of course. It's a fantastic thing that's in the Constitution. I said, okay. Well, if it's living and breathing, then at some point in the future, Americans could take that out. And he said, no, absolutely not. So I busted out laughing. because suddenly this living and breathing document becomes rigid and calcified as soon as they have their anti-white total domination. Then it can never be changed. But before it can never be changed, it is totally fluid, man. You got to be able to just play with it and do whatever you want. So it's got to be totally fluid. So the argument is always what? The argument is always aimed at inflicting harm on us. Your document for your country, the governance of your country, has to be malleable so that we anti-whites can inflict more harm on you. But as soon as we have everything we want, then no way in hell is that document going to be permitted to be malleable and adaptable by you. So do that sort of thing. Make these people, and then watch this guy's mouth hung open with no response. Okay, we have Mark super chatting $10. I've noticed anti-whites often claim, I don't hate white people. I hate the system of white supremacy. This is clearly untrue. But what's the best way to demonstrate this? Well, the phrase white supremacy is anti-white. So the first thing to do is to tell them that that is a phrase that has been created to undermine the well-being of white people. Where is the evidence of white supremacy? Name it, point to it, show me the mechanism of it. And on top of that, why are you so anti-white that you would use the vernacular of white oppression? And get them talking about that. The moment you ask them to defend themselves of why they're so anti-white, why would they use the language of white oppression, you change the subject to the real matter at hand. The white supremacy is fiction inside the anti-white narrative. There's nothing that they can grab. There's nothing that an anti-white can say, this is an example. So you could also say, is affirmative action an example of white supremacy? You could just go down the list. You could just, is it an example of white supremacy to see in almost all commercials now, this promotion of miscegenation with white people, which results in white erasure? Is it white supremacy when our statues are taken down? Is it white supremacy when our street signs are changed? So you tell me, Mr. or Mrs. Anti-White, why are you so goddamn anti-white that you would perpetuate this fiction of white supremacy, this anti-white narrative in a world that clearly demonstrates the exact opposite of white supremacy? Tell me why you're so anti-white. Change the subject to that, to reality. And then if they are anti-whites, they're just going to say, no, well, it should just be this way. We want to inflict harm. In so many words, they'll say that. And then you can say, have a nice day, psycho. And if it is a vague or someone else, they'll begin backpedaling. They're not going to want to be associated with trying to associated with being defined as an anti-white, and they're not going to want to be charged with or have the onus on them to say, well, here is the system of how white supremacy works. Here are the mechanisms of it. When they start talking about these generalities, when they start talking about this miasma, you know that they've gotten away from reality and they've gotten into fiction. So I always reel them back. When they begin talking about abstractions, I say, no abstractions. Let's talk about reality. I want to know what is happening right now at Apple that is white supremacy. What is happening right now at Facebook? I want to know the specifics, because if you have no specifics, it's just an anti-white superstition. And so the question is, why are you so anti-white? This is how you handle these people. You never back down. You are in the right, for God's sake. You are in the right. People are living by the anti-white narrative, which is an absolute pure fiction from start to finish. So I know I missed one. Lapis, super chat, $4.99. The amending of the South African Constitution is exactly what made farm seizures without compensation legal. Amendments of anti-whiteism. Thank you very much for bringing that to the discussion and for the kind super chat of $4.99. That is exactly what happened. And guess what? Now I guarantee you that they are not going to allow any sort of repeal from their constitution of these amendments that have made it legal to do to white people what they are doing now, which, by the way, goes right back to that genocide watch, that international group that rates white people. Remember, 8 is persecution. That, my friends, is persecution. When the Constitution says of your country, not only just the laws on all of the books and the laws at all of the rules at all of the companies, when they all say it is legal to discriminate and it is desirable to discriminate against white people, that is persecution. That is blatant persecution. But when it goes from that all the way up to your governing document, then there is absolutely anybody who continues to deny that is clearly demonstrating that they have genocidal thoughts, that they absolutely desire beyond all things in their miserable lives white erasure. Thank you very much for that. Penguin super chatting $8. Are we starting the white well-being artist wall? Well, I will put. I guess I'll say this now, and I got to find the other super chat. We got to get rolling. We've been having so much fun here. Let's see who I missed. I missed someone. Let's see. I missed Prater writing with $5. Thank you very much. I'm recovering alcoholic, sober 2 years. Big congratulations to you. Well done. WWB has motivated me to defeat addiction. Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear that? White well-being has motivated Prater to defeat addiction. Homeless for 4 years, almost out of it. Drive on, folks. Well done, my friend. Well done. Turning around and working on yourself, improving yourself. Now, remember, there'll be nothing better that you can do for your spirit and who and what you are than to fight for the community, that the biospirit that has brought you into existence, that has given you the gifts that you have. Yes, those gifts are shackled. They have been shackled by the anti-whites. Many of those gifts are broken, and use that. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Use that. We'll talk more. Thank you very much for sharing your testimony, my brother. That's big love to you. Big love to you. Let's see who else I might have missed. Looks like Steve super chatting with £5. Is this right? No, I didn't see these come up. If I'm wrong, you all can correct me. £5. Really enjoyed the show earlier this week with Mark and Keith Woods. Yeah, it was a great show. Really liked Keith, and we will be having him on tap at some point in the future without question. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Really great guy, Keith. And thank you, Steve, being a member of our community. We have super chatting with $1.99. What is the great replacement? Writing, will cover neo-Nazi protest in Germany. Will cover. You will cover it? Let us know what happens. Thank you. Thank you very much for that kind super chat to the cause of white well-being. Now, to Penguin's statement, what I'd like to do, I have the music, and we have videos up on my playlist, the White Wellbeing Community. What I'd like to do, if you are, let's say you do watercolor, you're very talented at watercolor, and you want to do a collection, 5, 10, 15 pieces of watercolor, and you would like to share that with our community, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. Well, we'll take your watercolors, we'll put them up on the screen on a premiere like we've done with the songs, and we'll have them stay on the screen for 10, 20, 30, 40 seconds, and then it can rotate to the next one and play some, just music in the background and make it comfortable, and we can all chat. That would be fabulous. Let's do it. If you're out there, you have that talent, let's do it. If you are a sculptor and you want to make some well-being pieces of sculpture, you want to make some well-being paintings, let's get together. Let's let's make those beautiful creations, and then we'll share them on my channel, and we will grow the community thereby. That's what we need. We need well-being art. If you're capable of it, and you know whether or not your work. I mean, I doubt that any of you are going to reach out to me with something truly dreadful and say, "Well, will you put this on your channel, Jason?" But do you know if you have some skill, and if you have some decent skill, let's do it. Let's get it out there. I will show it. We can have a premiere. We can have all of the community show up and have a great conversation, just like we had with what was it, Luke? Is that his name? With his song Mason. With his song "The Coming War of Ideas" the other day, just like the other pieces that we've had, synthesized pieces, etc. Same thing with videos. Remember, though, you want to keep this. You want to keep it Promethean. If you look through my writings, you'll know exactly what that means. But we want to stay away from all of the Hollywood stereotypes. They want you to manifest and to project these stereotypes so that they can say, look, this fits right into our anti-white narrative. And what we told you all out there in the public is true about these people. Stay away from all that. We have our own real, living, breathing community with a heartbeat, and we're growing. Something special is happening here. Do not imitate anything that the anti-whites have done in the demonstration of the antagonists in their stories and the like. It won't do our people any good whatsoever. Okay, now let's jump over to, well, what I'll first do is, and then we're going to read the super chats over on entropy. All right, so let's, first thing I want to do is I've been working this past week with a lot of the teams that we've been putting together for white well-being. Things are really speeding up. They're getting exciting. Your dollars, your pounds, your euros, your Peruvian sol, your whatever it is, Norwegian krona, it's all going a great distance to begin assembling the teams, to begin making the pieces for this great engine. Think of it as like a drag car on the drag strip, and we are putting together the pieces to make this thing, or a Baja car, something that's durable, that's going to last, that can go over the bumps. The Baja car is probably better for an analogy, something that will survive. We're making it happen. So I want to thank a few people. I want to thank Anne for the work that she's done and is doing and will continue to do on creating MP3s of all of the different audio for all of the shows that we've done. We're going to have that all up available on Spreaker. And if they censor us on 2 more platforms, and if they censor us on 4 more platforms, so that's the way that's going to work. Thank you very much, Anne. I want to thank my website and marketing engineer of No White Guilt Collectibles, which is the great Phoenix Fire, for all of the work that she has done for our community. It's absolutely scintillating, a great labor of love. She's a wonderful person to work with, and she's doing amazing work. I don't think she's here today. If anybody can knows her contacts and can reach out to her, please do, and we will we'll have her show. Wait, she is here. Phoenix Fire, great to see you. I hadn't seen you until just now, so Phoenix Fire is here. Thank you very much. I want to thank my Chief Digital Information Officer. Our team is growing there as well. He wants to remain totally unnamed, even no nom de guerre. But thank you very much. He knows who he is. I want to thank Erwache, Zedez, Starshine Girl, and Lily for all of their work that they are doing on the timestamps for these videos. As you can see, if this is your first time at one of these going free streams, you see we go from topic to topic. I often give people useful information on how they can address elements in their lives. The total stream will be too long for anybody to find a specific point in it, perhaps, that will really be valuable to them. So we're going to be doing some time stamping, and then we're going to copy these pieces, extract them, and I'm going to post them on my channel with very specific titles, so that, and these will be things that all of you can then share with your circles of influence, a way to really rapidly grow the community by that method. So thank you to all of you. Big thank you to my marketing director, Althea, for all the work that she is doing. I think I don't know that she doesn't show up on YouTube, but she is on Twitter, so you can find her there. And I want to thank my video highlights specialist, HB 2014. And I don't know that he is here today in the chat. So if you know him, please reach out and say that we're streaming and come on over. So a big thank you to HB for all of the brilliant work that he does, capturing snippets of all of the work that I do across all of the platforms on all of the shows, and then posting those on Twitter. It's bringing a lot of people to the cause. So big thank you and recognition and spotlight to all of these people and all of the good work that they are doing for all of us and for all of our children, our grandchildren, nieces and nephews who are going to live miserable lives if we don't stand up for them now, if we don't stand in front of them, between them and the harm that the anti-white wants to inflict. How ignoble would we have to be to not stand in the way of that bullet? And how heroic are we when we do? That's the good work that we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. So I quickly want to read, and then we're going to get to these super chats on Entropy. Don't go anywhere. If you have super chatted and your super chat is over on that platform, I'm going to get to it. Wow, it looks like the great Poseidon is here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Yeah, we got so many stars here. It is really remarkable. We have entered Andromeda. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you all for being here. I see Daughter of Albion is here. Windhammer, that is one of the coolest names. Thank you for being here. John is here. Germanic is here. A lot of folks showing up. More people coming to the stream. Very exciting. So just the perfect time to get to some of these statements that have been sent to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to feel the absolute humbling, heartwarming, exciting success that I feel when folks write to me in abundance about the success they're having going free, success on themselves, how they are getting better themselves by addressing the mean pathogens in their minds, how they are helping their loved ones, their children, their wives or husbands or friends or even strangers. I want you to feel that same excitement. So we're going to read a couple of these. I'm not going to give folks names away for their privacy. So if you have written to me, never worry about that. So I've got a message from Gary that we're going to read first. We're going to go through these. We'll do these super chats, and then we're going to get started on this fantastic material that we have that is really going to empower you all. Pardon me, I cannot say enough. You are going to be very excited about this. So Gary writes, howdy, no white guilt. I hope you are well and enjoying the beauty of your part of the country. Got to see your last stream and got lucky to see it from the start. Thank you, Jason, for the shout out and the stylish hat. You are so considerate to all of your supporters. The snippets you are posting on your Twitter feed are especially helpful to share with fellow friends. Now, who was I just thanking? HB 2014. So Gary's thanks goes right through me to HB and the work that he's doing. You see how this works, ladies and gentlemen? This is a beautiful thing. Gary goes on, the MCs you are teaching us to use also are very useful. Already, I have developed a whole new way of speaking, and my friends are catching on too. The important thing is that they work. The lessons, and most importantly, the fix, is what we need to hear. The old guard are doing Western man a really bad service. They are fat, old, and corrupted, Jason. Your vigor and strength is an MC waiting to tsunami over the country. Keep it up, brother, and take care of yourself and the ones you love. Well, thank you very much, Gary, and thank you for sharing your testimony of the success you are having with going free, the lexicons and the dialectic. It's a great honor to serve with you in the cause for white well-being. Let us continue. And here we have from the great Luke Mason, which was the creator of the music that we showed the other day, premiered on my channel, The Coming War of Ideas, writing, I just received your book, Born Guilty, in the mail. Your excellent writing style is delightful. I'm really enjoying it. As a gesture of gratitude, I offer you a composition of my own, replete with abundant guitar riffs, powerful vocal harmonies, and even a bit of J.S. Bach style counterpoint. Thanks for the great work you're doing and for helping me overcome my own tendency to embrace dangerous black-pilled strategies. The situation seems hopeless at times, but your intelligence and positive message inspire me to keep fighting back against the tides of anti-white ideology, one song at a time. Something truly magic about that, ladies and gentlemen. The song that he produced, that's the one we played on my channel, is absolutely fantastic. It is marvelous. It sounds like Iron Maiden. It is that tier of quality. Make sure after the stream is over, you go and watch it and listen to it if you haven't already. So he created that beautiful work of art because of what we're doing here in the community for white well-being. I could never do that. I could never even fathom doing that. How many people will that speak to that I couldn't get anywhere close to being able to speak to? Are you now beginning to see how we all can each be that one little H2O in that tsunami that Gary talked about that's racing to the shore? We can all be that one little H2O in that tsunami. So thank you very much for that, Luke. John writes, Dear Jason, they want to destroy us. They hate us with a scorching revulsion. They will never change. I want your voice to be heard. Your sermon, which I just listened to again, should be broadcast in the schools and universities. We shall persevere. Godspeed, good sir. Thank you, John, for those for those powerful words. We absolutely will persevere. We have, let's see, Ryan writing, I just wanted to email you to say that I've been seeing more and more people use anti-white. I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like the use of anti-white for our enemies, our victimizers, is really catching on and being used by people a lot more. And I imagine a lot of them don't even watch your shows. I believe this is proof and vindication for all of the times you've said, quote, these dialectics will spread like wildfire, close quote. And it really makes me feel good about our people's success. I feel driven seeing the spread of anti-white happen just as you predicted. I really believe in your dialectics and our people's future. Thanks for all your dedication. Thank you very much, Ryan. Indeed, it is vindication. It is the exact thing that I said. Why? Because the lexicon and the dialectics work. It's a curative contagion. It will spread. People will use these things that have no idea that we nurtured them here in this chrysalis of our community, that we nurtured and reared them here in this chrysalis. And then they spread around the world. They'll have no idea they'll be using what makes them, and no idea why it makes them so powerful. But we will. We will have played an enormous role in their lives. Okay, this was European Truth writing, thank you for your endless work. You have been a deep inspiration. Be assured you are changing lives, even here in New Zealand. Your work is being spread and having an impact. So, around planet Earth, ladies and gentlemen, this is happening. Finally, a KD writing, preach it, no white guilt gives me chills and makes my heart sing like no one else in the white positive sphere. In the face of erasure, I now have such hope. Going free works. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the kinds of testimony that I routinely receive every single day. from people whose lives who are being improved. These are the kinds of things that have never happened in the white positive sphere. Not with all of the brilliant historians, not with all of the brilliant philosophers, not with all of the brilliant philosophizing and philosophasting, not with all of that did we have such a wellspring of growth, of healing, of love, of redemption, and the prospect of it spreading even further. This is what makes what we are doing here so radically different. And it is all of us. It is each one of you that gives your part, your portion that you can do. If that's one leaflet and one person's not in their mailbox in the United States, that's illegal, but on the little flag that goes up and down. If that's all you can do, or one leaflet, or one of those business cards that Luke came up with in a book at the library, if that's all you can do a day or a week or what have you, you are forming another piece of that tsunami that we are creating here for the well-being of our people, for the protection of our children. No more are we going to allow our children to be taught these mean pathogens, taught to hate themselves, taught to believe that the only way they can have value in this world is if they endeavor to destroy all that they are. We are going to put an end to that. And they will sing songs to us in the future because of it. So let me get a drink, and we're going to do these. I'm going to skip for now at least, the wretched article written by Cross Eyes on the Right, which raised a ton of money for white well-being with the last article he wrote. This is so wretched. It is shocking how we'll see about getting to it. But I want to briefly talk about the anti-whites celebrating Tommy Robinson going to jail, and how our great friends Henrik and Lana handled the attack by these folks, because I want to give a little bit of a suggestion. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get a drink first because I'm parched. All right. Let's get to some of these fantastic super chats. Made in Deutschland is here. Great to see you. God feeds the raven. Great to see you. Good to have you here. Brooke is here. Great to see you. Alex is here. I still see Seaver is in the chat. Sterling Price is here. NWO Dispatcher is here. Great to see you. Okay, super chats, ladies and gentlemen, over on Entropy. Edgar Allen, super chatting with $5. Moving people to a foreign country for the culture. For the culture is like planting an oak in pine forest so it will retain its leaves in the winter. Moving people to a foreign country for the culture is like planting an oak in pine forest so it will retain its leaves in the winter. Speaking directly to the essence of a thing. You do not change the essence of a thing by just moving it into another environment. And of course, we see this when non-whites come to our country, and I will just say right now, so that there can be no misunderstanding when it comes to the anti-whites. I will go ahead and grant to you all you anti-whites out there, that non-white people are better looking than us, that I will grant to you all that they're all smarter than us. I will grant to you all that they're all more intelligent than us, more law-abiding than us, whatever you want. I still am going to serve white well-being. I still am going to fight for our children and their future and put an end to the child abuse that is inflicted on them. I still want to preserve my culture and my people. So speaking directly to when you have non-white people come into our countries, when they are in a state of numerical diffidence, this is right from Going Free, they superficially mimic our norms. And it's out of fear. It's not because we're doing anything to make them afraid, but it's because they are nonetheless afraid because the majority group is so much larger than they are. They don't know if the majority group will retaliate or become angry or upset with them. Think about us doing the same thing in a place like China. If we had 100 of us in China, how likely would we be to start transforming their neighborhoods into something that looked the way we wanted it to look? Very unlikely. We would be afraid of the masses of Chinese around us. The more of us there are, the more likely it is that we would achieve numerical courage, and we would begin manifesting our biospirit on our environment, and we would transform this little pocket of China and that little pocket of China. The same thing happens in Western civilization when the non-white groups come in. We don't want our environments to be a disharmony for us, and that is what an alien biospirit, another people's biospirit, as beautiful as it might be, would be discordant with ours. You don't ever feel as unwelcomed and out of place as when you are in another culture's milieu. And even though you might like to visit and have holiday there, you always want to go home, back to what reflects to you in harmony what is within you. And so, fantastic, Edgar Allen. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Arcade super chatting also $5 is over on Entropy. It is maddening that I am required to celebrate everyone else's identity and actively hate my own. Very well said. That is exactly what the anti-whites demand of us. They demand of our little boys and little girls, ladies and gentlemen. They demand, I mean, since almost all of you were children in school, it's been demanded of us that we celebrate Black culture, that we celebrate Asian culture, that we celebrate Jewish culture, that we celebrate this Arab culture or that culture. But when it comes to our people, we are demanded to despise our culture, to despise our heritage. Precisely. Well said. Bigot Smalls, super chatting with $5. That's a funny name. Over on Entropy. Fly white and secede. It is not our lot to be victims and zookeepers. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. And I do encourage, if you are in an environment, a neighborhood that is becoming dangerous for you and your family, get out and continue the fight from another hill. Don't die on the hill that you're on. If you can fight from another location, do that. If you are one of these old school white flighted to some island or some other location, middle of the woods, and store up your toilet paper, then go to hell. You're not welcome in this community. We want nothing to do with you. You are not going to be safe by being that selfish and hiding out in some warren in a hill, something you dig out. We are only going to be safe as a community, and the only people that have any value in our community are the ones who are going to fight for the community. No more of this glorification of individualism. The next time somebody says to you, "Oh, let's sneak off to that country or this country, or let's go hide in some redoubt in the middle of wherever state or province or what have you, and we'll just stay there and we'll be able to live out the end of our lives." You first tell them to go to hell, and then tell them that it's the most selfish thing you've ever heard. Because white little boys and white little girls, maybe your white little boys and little girls, are going to be suffering. They're not all going to be able to fit into this ass's redoubt. They're not all going to be able to live in the valley over in some strange land. So we want nothing to do with people like that. Looks like Bigot Smalls super chatted that twice, unless there's an error on Entropy here. The exact same dollar amount and the exact same sentence. Thank you very much for that. Investment to the cause. DL super chatting with $5. Is it normal to think about anti-whites all the time? And what should you do? And what should you do? Stop thinking about them all the time. Is it normal to think about anti-whites all the time? Nobody here is thinking about anti-whites all the time. So we're thinking about the love of our people. We defend our people from anti-whites. So when an anti-white shows up and they want to inflict harm on us, our people, etc., then we deal with, I mean, that's like the question, DL, is like saying, is it normal to confront a rapist? Is it normal to confront a murderer? Is it normal to confront a thief? Yes, it is. It absolutely is. So maybe DL lives in Northern Virginia, outside of DC as well, because the temperature here is a scorching 108 Fahrenheit, and maybe the heat is causing a bit of delirium. Roy Danton, wow, super chatting over on Entropy, $100. Everybody, let's get a big round of applause for Roy Danton. That most princely sum donated to the cause of white well-being. Thank you so much for that kind investment. I'm writing, I recently decided to permanently close some old form account, and what better way than to use your powerful lexicon? Well done, my friend. What better way than to use your powerful lexicon? It worked. The anti-whites were so afraid that they had to shut me down. So the great Roy Danton coming in with a $100 super chat to the cause of white well-being, 100, saving our white children dollars, and pointing out, giving testimony to the fact that these dialectics work, that the lexicon works. The anti-whites freaked out and had to kick him off the platform, which he was ready to be. It was censorship by anti-white. Well done, Roy. Thank you so much for that. We have Dresden Burns super chatting $5. Veganism feminizes you, and he gives a link. I'll have to take a look at that later. I have seen, I mean, you don't see many robust, muscled guys who are vegans. I mean, or vegetarians. It's a reality. Now, as far as feminizing, perhaps it does increase or imbalance hormones in such a way that it causes such a problem. So thank you very much for the $5 and for the info on veganism, which is important to our community. Rob, 1984, super chatting with $3. Is Dennis Wise too much of a hot potato to have on? I don't know who that is. If you're talking about, let me just put that, I mean, I'm sure there are more than one person with that name up. So let me just see. Is this a soccer / football player? Is that what you're talking about? You don't super chat again, just write in the regular chat, please. And I will check the other methods that people are able to super chat on, and we will get rolling. I don't know what has gone on with Dennis and why he would even come on. If he's a nationally known person, I doubt he would want to even come on one of our shows, but who knows? Maiden says, generally true about veganism. Thank you so much for giving your input. Let's see what you all are writing. Let's get over here. The Familiar Alternative. We have some super chats there. Slots, super chatting with $20. Thank you most deeply for the kind super chat, Slots. That story about WWB overcoming homelessness is very inspiring. As someone who hasn't experienced it, but fears it greatly, it makes me think I'm strong enough to overcome anything. You absolutely are. The blood of white titans runs in all of your veins. The spirit of white genius and courage and nobility runs in all of your veins. It is a matter of addressing the mean pathogens that are in your subconscious mind and therefore going free, and you will begin to access, and you will even feel. And if some of you out there are beginning to feel access to more of your potential, share that testimony as well. This is something that I always love getting feedback about from people when they suddenly realize that I've had folks say, I think that no white guilt. I think I'm feeling more intelligent. I think my mind is clearer. I think that I'm able to remember better, or I am able to remember better. I'm feeling like I'm more in touch with nature. I'm feeling that all of that is true. All of that is true. You cannot be infected with these physical, mental, and spiritual undermining handicaps and think that you are going to even remotely approach your potential. So work on going free, and you will begin to tap into a better you, a stronger you, a smarter you, a faster you, a more spiritual you. These are things that person after person after person, including myself, have noticed about the process of going free, treating these meme pathogens. And everybody knows the anti-whites would absolutely agree with this thesis. If we were talking about non-white children, they would. If we were saying, well, what if this group of non-white children were taught to hate their people and taught to hate their history, you absolutely know that Princeton and Yale and Harvard and UCLA, they would all begin producing endless reams of these studies that would demonstrate that these people are not able to fulfill their destiny because of the ideas they've been impregnated with. Yes, that's the exact same thing that's happening for us. That is the exact same thing that is happening to us. So the anti-whites would damn well say this that is happening when it happens to a non-white, and it is the exact same thing that's happening to us. The difference is that we, because we are honest, intellectually honest people, will say that if you were to do that to non-white children, yes, it would undermine them. The anti-whites are not intellectually honest. They're not going to say, let's put an end to that sort of undermining of white children. They're absolutely not going to do that. So thank you very much for that, Slots. And we have Jason's glass of water. Oh, this is a new one. This is another temporary. It's a $2 donation. All right, this is giving get a drink of water since it's Jason's glass of water. Actually, I'm going to get back to that one. I'm going to get to the super chats that are not, I'll get back to that one. Super chats that are more sincerely written. Because I had a few over here on coffee. And I want to make sure I read those. We had super chat from Starshine Girl. Thank you very much. $6 writing, I dedicate the performance of You're Simply the Best by Tina Turner. Love from Starshine. Thank you very much for that, Starshine. And then we have Anon at $6. Thank you very much over on Ko-fi. Dear Jason, thank you for your service to white well-being. I'm grateful for your leadership and the education I am receiving. So thank you very much for that investment as well. And then we have a super chat from someone with a great name, Jason, $6. Thanks for being a voice and leader in this struggle for the existence of our people. All right. Now I think that I want to make sure that I reload this and make sure we haven't had any come in over on any of these others that I rarely see super chats come in on. Okay, looks good from that point. No new ones on entropy. And let's see here. We might have had, if I've had any that have gone by on YouTube while I've been talking, please speak up, one of the mods. I'll take a look over here and we will get to this. Oh, but just quickly to say to Jason's glass of water question, it's a hypothetical about isn't it about harming all of the peoples when they show commercials to miscegenate and they promote miscegenation? Well, let me demonstrate how that is disingenuous. Jason's glass of water. The way it's disingenuous is that In commercial A, we see a white woman with a non-white guy. In commercial B, we see a white man with a non-white woman. In commercial C, we see white grandparents with non-white grandchildren. In commercial D, are you getting it yet? Are you getting it yet? There is something that's tying all of these together. And it's white people. It's the white race that is shown to miscegenate with non-white group after non-white group after non-white group. It isn't, say, for example, Jews shown to be miscegenating with Palestinians, or Jews to be miscegenating with blacks, Jews to be miscegenating with Koreans, Jews to be, no, that's not what's happening. Commercial after commercial after commercial. No, it's white woman, white man, white grandparents, white children, white boyfriend, white girlfriend, time and again. Can you be any more disingenuous? So and if it is, I'm sorry, if it's out of ignorance rather than animus and mendacity, then I apologize. If you can't put this together and you look at all of these commercials and you don't see that there's a thread tying all of them together, and then that is the white people that are being shown to miscegenate themselves out of existence. If you're missing that, and that's just because maybe it's an IQ function, then I apologize for saying that you were motivated by malice. So having said that, that speaks to your question. I will happily speak to, in the anti-whites that are listening, I will happily, if you're going to be, if you be respectable and intellectually honest, and you want to pose a question, especially if you want to super chat to the cause of white well-being, I will take your questions and I will speak to them. I might be a bit acerbic because I am beyond sick and tired of anti-whites inflicting harm on my people. I'm beyond sick and tired of your pretexts as though those are your real motivations. So I will speak to all of them, though. Just don't expect that I'm going to handle you with kid gloves. Don't expect that I'm going to roll over like many others, even some in the white positive sphere, and certainly the CivNat sphere and the conservative sphere. Don't expect that from No White Guilt, because I'm drawing a line in the ground. I'm throwing a gauntlet at your feet, and I'm saying, not one step more. I don't care what your excuse is. There is no outcome that is anti-white that I'm going to accept. No outcomes. I don't care what you say to arrive at that outcome. So if your mouth is going to work, if your pen is going to work, you're going to type, you're going to peck on your keyboard like some 80-year-old. I'm not going to curse. Like some 80-year-old person pecking away with one finger on the keyboard. If you want to do that and you want to try to perpetuate these lies that it's for this pretext or that pretext, that we just have to inflict harm on Western kind, then go do that someplace else. But if you have a question and you would like to get it answered, maybe your IQ is on the little low side and you need a little bit of help, and so you've been brought up anti-white, you need some help, I will speak to that. But I'm not going to be sweet about the response. Now, if you come to me as a vague and you have a desire to learn, you want to know what's going on in the world, then I will know that that's your motivation, because I'll hear it in the way you phrase your questions, how you ask your questions. So, and when I say hear it, of course, I'm talking about reading it here and interpreting from how it's written. So I'll know the difference between somebody who is really an anti-white and who's trying to have a gotcha moment, and which is they're so typical of, and somebody who is a vague or just trying to learn, they're new, maybe because there are so many people who are maturing sociopolitically and coming to our cause, and I want them. I will bring them in. I will answer all of your questions, and I will handle you. And in fact, many of you who are in the chat right now, I've spoken with many of you, either back and forth with emails and the like, and that's going to be the majority, but some of you have actually spoken to, and you will be able to attest to the fact that no matter how far afield your thinking was when we started talking, I very gently brought you to an unavoidable reality and truth and service to white well-being. You'll be able to speak to that. But I definitely have a different position when it comes to anti-whites. They want to scream and shout. You know, all of their screaming and shouting is nothing but the squealing in pigs to my ears. That's all it sounds like. When they scream and they shout and they curse and they spit, it's just, to my ears, it just sounds like pigs squealing and snorting out in the mud, out in the mire. The braying of asses. That's all it sounds like to my ears. Not a single word, not a single mote of intelligence in anything they have to say. They're all just repeating this absolutely anti-white, meme pathogen nonsense over and over. And when you remove logic, and when you remove the ability to have a hypothesis and a null hypothesis to test things, when you remove these things from how Western civilization functions, and that's what they've done. When they say that there is such a thing as white privilege, structural racism, they've removed standards of proof. They give you nothing to take apart and say this doesn't exist. And when you do that, you lose civilization. Because it is the same thing to say as there is an invisible mule over there. And then I say, well, can I touch the mule? No, you can't touch the mule. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You can't, nothing at all, but the mule is there. That essentially is structural racism. There's no evidence for the mule. There's no testing for the mule. There's no null hypothesis. But that the mule is there. That is structural racism, ladies and gentlemen. You lose civilization. So let's proceed. Now let's make a quick look at the chat, because I know that we have had a DB Cooper writes, great to see you, DB Cooper. And Fred is here, writes, let's get No White Guilt 15 subscribers today. Thank you so much. Jilly Storm writes, school that glass of water, no white guilt. Thank you very much for that. King Elvis is here. Sailor is here. Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, or just didn't notice that you were present. Fred asked, did I address Spencer's CNN appearance? I have not on this stream, and all I really had to say was that my suggestion to Richard is the same suggestion that I give to everyone, and that is, and I hold for myself, is that we never use the vocabulary of white oppression. That includes the supreme word of white oppression, which is racism. So as I understand it, I didn't get to see it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Richard used this word, and when you use these words, and I think, as somebody also told me, I think that he used white supremacy. When you use these words, you legitimize them. What you do is you tell your interlocutor what that is, that it's a tool of white oppression, and if they use it, they're anti-white, and you refuse to speak on that field. That will force your interlocutor to talk on your field, to talk with your vernacular. You be the one that is intransigent. You be the one that absolutely won't budge on the well-being of our people. You be the one that reframes everything in our dialectics. Do not use their language, or you will never win. There have been people in the white positive sphere extraordinarily high IQ'd and have lost every discussion because they use the language of white oppression. So that's my recommendation to Richard and to all of you. And now I'm going to give a recommendation to the great Henrik and Lana. We all love them. I am their biggest supporter. And Jared and I ran a a promotional show for them when they were censored from a payment platform, and raised some money for them and their young family. I spoke very passionately about the anti-whites inflicting harm on them. So this is no sort of harsh criticism that I'm giving for them. And if anyone feels that I might be misrepresenting them, please go watch the video. It is not yesterday's or 2 days ago's Friday show, but it's the previous one. Please go back and watch that episode and see if I am misrepresenting the position that they took, which is not to say that it is a wrong position, or certainly not to say that it is a damaging position. I'm merely going to suggest the way to better handle what they discussed here. That is all. So to my good friends, it is merely a suggestion, Henrik and Lana, and more importantly, it is a suggestion to all of you who are going to be watching this, who are watching this live, and who will watch this in replay. Now, what they brought up was that anti-whites were robustly mocking Tommy Robinson for his plea of political asylum in the United States. I'm not going to be talking about Tommy Robinson here, or I've spoken about that. But so they were robustly mocking his request for political asylum, saying, how does it feel now to seek political asylum? Now, how do most of you think that the anti-whites should be? Critiqued is here. Good to see you. He writes, you do great work. You and Poseidon are my favorite streamers. Don't ever stop. I'm closing this live chat right now to listen. Oh, you were live. Okay. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Big thanks and big round of applause to Critique. He shut off his own live stream to join us in the community for white well-being. Thank you so much for showing up, good sir. And make sure all of these other platforms are still working, and we will continue. Does anybody know JT Smith writing, you're very, very gifted, good brother, Jason Kuna. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that sentiment. Any gifts I have are from and owed back to our people, and I give them with the most joy in my heart that I could for any act that a human being could feel. So let's make sure I didn't miss anything over here. And if my redoubtable moderators could tell me if I've missed anybody's super chats. Doesn't look like I have on YouTube. And it looks like we're up now to date on, oh, actually, you know what? Let me check on Entropy. It's reloading now. So when it completely reloads, I'll have a look and see. And we have some more questions I want to get to. So anybody have any ideas on how to handle the anti-whites? This is just a way to Amanda Scott just super chatted 10 pounds. Thank you. And great to see you, Amanda. She writes, great show, Jason. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us in this, in our community. But I'm getting a message on my phone. We never know what these are, so I got to make sure to check them. Okay. Thank you very much for the kind super chat of 10 pounds. We will make it go a long way. Yes, JT writes, Jared George, a good YouTube channel. Everybody, if you're not subscribed to Jared George, please do so. And head on over there. It's just called Jared George. And in fact, there is now a link on my YouTube page on the right-hand side to his. You can click right there, head on over and sub to his channel. He does great work. He just produced, of course, he's with me, the heartbeat of TAP. And he just produced a fantastic video yesterday, or at least I saw it yesterday. Go and have a look at that first chance. So here's how Henrik and Lana responded, which I think is how most people would respond. They said, well, effectively, they took the approach that the anti-whites, by saying, how does it feel to seek political asylum to Tommy, they took the approach of that, oh, you're comparing apples and oranges. Which is not an unsound position to take. They said some things like, as if economic opportunists are the same thing as Tommy Robinson, as if they are fighting governments that are arresting them for their ideas. This is good because we help individuals on individual cases that are deserving. Tommy would be a seamless transition, as opposed, obviously, to all of the non-white migration. And finally, you can't compare this to chain migration. So in every single case of the positions that they were talking about and taking, the positions that all of us could end up taking in a conversation with anti-whites who suddenly say, well, how does it feel now that Tommy is seeking political asylum in America? And there he is trying to stop these folks from coming into his country. Does anybody see a stronger method? A stronger response? All right, well, the error, I'll tell you all, the error that's, well, not really an error, but the weaker angle that they're taking is that they are addressing the anti-white premise to the statement. So the premise to the statement is that the issue is political asylum. So the moment you say, the anti-white comes to you and says, here's the issue we're going to argue on this field, it's political asylum, and you are a hypocrite, which is the argument that the anti-whiteism, you're a hypocrite because here we have this issue of political asylum, and Tommy, or you support Tommy, and so therefore he should be able to seek political asylum, but you don't want to allow political asylum to all of these people who want to come into your country or come into our country because you are just a anti-white slur. And then you, or maybe Henrik and Lana, maybe even I do it, end up saying, no, you have an apple and orange situation here, and that's different because here are all the reasons why it's different. We are still having the conversation on his turf. We are still having the conversation on the anti-white person's turf. The stronger answer is to say, political asylum, and you might want to add, you idiot, is not the issue. We are not discussing the nature and the scope and the use of the apparatus known as political asylum. That hasn't been our debate at any point. Our debate is about white erasure. Our debate is about our countries being transformed into places that are uncomfortable and dangerous for us. Our debate is about us being impoverished, about our children living in lands that make them afraid, that make them intimidated, that we're in lands where they are ganged up and beat up by, murdered and raped by these anti-white non-whites coming in. Our issue is with people coming in from other parts of the world and gaining such numbers that they decide our destiny for us by way of the ballot box in the countries that we created, in countries that only we can sustain. That is the issue. You bring the anti-white over to your field. The issue is not the system of political asylum and whether or not you're being a hypocrite by endorsing Tommy in his attempt to gain political asylum in the United States. It is not an apples and orange conversation. It is not a conversation about the mechanism of political asylum at all. Our conversation has always been about white erasure. You bring the conversation over to that, and you make the anti-white argue on that field, and ladies and gentlemen, you win. And that, to my good friends, Henrik and Lana, over there at Red Ice, I love them, I love their family, I love the work they're doing for white well-being, is what they can do now for the good of our people. Use these stronger tactics get off of the anti-whites field and get them onto grounds where you hold the high territory, where you're not having to fight uphill against them, trying to define or explain why you're not a hypocrite in this case. For God's sake. We've all done it. We have all done it, but we're all going to make each other stronger. We have all made these errors because we have been trained to make these errors by way of our news and entertainment media, by way of our educational institutions. We have all been trained to make these errors, but we are all going to help each other to get stronger. And this is just a suggestion to my good friends over there at Red Ice. So let's see. We're going to get into the most powerful fuel now, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like if anyone from Entropy is watching the stream or on now, or if anybody knows them, could reach out to them. The donations tab over on Entropy has not reloaded. I don't see the latest donations on Entropy. So I might need you all to step in and fix that so that I can see everybody who has donated during the totality of the stream. Yonash saying they just entered a new day in Europe. But one of these days, my good friend, the sun will rise in the west, and you'll truly have a story to tell. All right. We are going to take a 60-second break, and I'm going to turn the AC up a little bit more because it is 108 degrees here in Virginia, outside of the capital of the United States, where regrettably all evil seems to emanate. So while I do that, if you all could tweet, gab, like the stream, subscribe to my channel. If you have, make sure that you're still subscribed. If you have subscribed in the past, jump on over to VK, Tumblr, if you're even on Tumblr, Minds, of course, Kanad and Parler are the new ones. Do that over the next 60 seconds. And if you have any questions, let me know about those. I will get over to these questions over in Entropy as well, because the questions segment is working just fine over there. I see all of that clearly for the folks over at Entropy. And I will be right back. Okay, let's see. Let's get myself some more water. Looks like, do we have any new questions? Question, Phoenix Fire says, this question from old school counselor. Things are not looking good. How can we regain momentum? We are regaining momentum rapidly. We are rapidly regaining momentum. It's about perspective. And the anti-whites, ladies and gentlemen, always want to give you a bad perspective. They want to make it seem like we are on the decline. We are just losing every day, because that discourages you from resisting their victimization. The opposite is true. And that's why I'm going to be reading some of these testimonies occasionally from now on, so that you can all see what I see, why I'm so excited, because we are growing. Every day we get stronger. Every day the odds of us winning are more robust. All things, my friends, all things are conspiring for our success. There is absolutely no reason to feel down, and we're going to get into this quickly. We'll get into the portion about the most powerful human motivator, and then we'll get you all on over to Poseidon for what I believe is going to be what he hopes to be his a white pill stream. And by the way, is Poseidon on yet? Is he talking? Is he music playing? So I can know how I can know exactly where he is in relation to where we are and what we have to do. All right, let me answer some of these questions over on Entropy. I wish those donations would show up. All right, we have Matthew asking, do I have interest in Telegram? Do you mean interest as in stock? I don't own any, I don't have any financial interest in Telegram. Interest in using it, I am on Telegram. You can search for me there. I'm No White Guilt. Ralph asks, what do you think about Hobbes? Oh, okay. Being deplatformed by Toby Robbins' website. I'm afraid I don't know anything about it. You'll have to fill me in on that. Yanish asking about, or Yonish, any idea what to do about low birth rate of our people? Well, continue to promote what we're promoting here, because as people see hope, as they see, and it's not just, it's hope for themselves, and then therefore hope for any children they produce, but also the discussion about the totality of our community and where it's going, seeing that it's progressing, and then the fulfillment that one can feel by getting away from these hollow allure of the next handbag and the next movie and the next. When people finally get away from that sort of thing, they begin to realize what is genuinely important. When they see that there is hope for our people, they invest in that hope. They invest themselves in that hope, and that means children as well. So we will see a rapidly growing community of people. There'll be a widespread birthing of white babies that are going to be reared in homes who openly care about white well-being, where they rear the children each and every day to protect them from mean pathogens. And it's going to have a massive multiplying effect. Why is that? There are many reasons. This is a huge topic, but I'm just speaking to it briefly. Thank you for asking it. And one of the reasons is that when other white families see the white family who's always happy, the children who are good, the family that gets along, the family, I'm sure everybody's going to have their problems, yes, but the family who is doing so much better, the family who is healthier, the family, etc. When they see this, they're going to want to know why. What can they do to be more like them? And then what happens with this doctrine of going free? It's a curative contagion. So when that touch is made, when that happens, it will spread. And it'll spread street by street, block by block. It'll sprout here and there, and there'll be no way for the anti-whites to stop it. The most beautiful thing is going to be these babies coming into the world with their bright eyes and their laughing faces. I love all children, but I love our children the most. To see these children coming up and to not be burdened with the hatred of our people, that is going to be a spirit across my soul that will stretch to the ends of the galaxy. I cannot tell you. That is what's truly going to strengthen us. So thank you for that question. Let's see what else we have here. Ralph asking, what do I think about the Epstein revelations and what do I think will happen? Well, my prediction is that Epstein, well, not my prediction, what I kind of expect but haven't seen yet, and I'm surprised, is since the regime has such total control over the masses throughout the West, I don't know why they just don't have a bogus trial and then just let him go free. It speaks to the reality that there are too many of our people throughout the system who would reveal, and when I say go free, I mean not in the eyes of the public. The public would think that he's gotten, life in jail or something like this. But there are too many people who would say, no, they let that bastard go. They let that, he's charged with child molestation or whatever. So for the censors at YouTube, I'm not calling him that. He's charged with that. They would reveal the fact that he was simply released. So what do I anticipate? I anticipate that heavy hitters will appear, and he'll probably end up with some extraordinarily light sentence that will outrage the masses. It'll be very good for us, and the people that have partaken of the molestation simply look to the stories of when this has happened at other times. Their names will remain in obscurity. We'll never get to know who they are because they've got too much power. Their networks are too strong. They have too much wealth to touch. And so that's what I anticipate will come out of that. So let's see what else. Roy asking, would it be possible to announce these a bit earlier? I didn't see any notifications early on, so I thought it was starting at 5 and went to the gym. Their Wi-Fi is broken. Missed the beginning. Sorry about that, brother. Yes, I can put these up a little earlier, and I have to do some experimentation because there is a point. There's Underhill. Great to see you, brother. There is a point where the governments in Europe realize that I'm streaming, and they interrupt. So not during the stream, but prior to the stream. If they see the placeholder, they say, "Oh, he's gonna stream. Shut it down," and they do shut it down. So I've got to find out where the mix, the Goldilocks zone, as they say in astronomy, where exactly the Goldilocks zone is. How early can I promote without the governments in Europe or most of them figuring out I'm going to be streaming and sharing going free lessons, and therefore they need to shut me down. Seeing Red just super chatted by way of the familiar alternative. Great seeing you, brother. Thank you so much for the kind super chat. A lucky number, 1488. I see that often. I might have to play it in the lotto. Jason, does there exist a reliable metric or inference by which we can determine growth or atrophy of the movement? If so, what might it be? That's a great question, actually. And we have in the past, I have encouraged the creation of a system by which we could measure interest. It was in the past, before really the internet was as robust as it is, there was a way, there were a couple ways that we came up with that were never really able to be implemented. So it's always been a bit of a, I guess, in intelligent guess on a conjecture on how many messages are coming in, how many new faces are showing up, how many books are being sold, that sort of thing. And what I can tell you from all of my years involved in the white positive sphere is that I have never seen growth and enthusiasm like we have specifically going free and serving white well-being. I've never seen it anywhere else. I cannot tell you, and we just don't have the time. Poseidon's going to be streaming soon, and I want to get to this message, very powerful message for you all. And but maybe we should have a show where we talk about this. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have observed this what in the past have looked like this blossoming of energy and participation, etc. And then it's like because of things that were observable, because of things that I said, look, don't do this, don't have that, or whatever, and yet they remained. It was like people pulling plugs out of the bathtub, and it was just like the water starts filling up and then it starts draining away time and again. We don't make those mistakes here, so we don't have a draining element to white well-being. We don't. There's no draining plug here that people and enthusiasm are draining away. We prevent that. We circumvent that from happening. So I can tell you that what I'm seeing here, what I'm seeing with what we are doing in Going Free, Jared George has been absolutely astonished since relative to my participation, he's very new, but he's been absolutely astonished to see the kind of growth that is taking place and the enthusiasm. It's very exciting for the both of us. We talk about it and we look at each other. It's like for us, it is something that brings us immense pride and humility and gratitude, and fires the engine to keep going. We know that brilliant people, yourselves, brilliant people, artistic people, dedicated people, good people, salt of the earth, the people that make the gears go round in civilization, that you people are coming to the cause of white well-being. That is the big difference. In the past, you had, and you still have this, and certainly in some elements of the white positive sphere, you have people that come out because they've done a whole lot of learning and they want to share. You have cranks come out because they want to do a whole lot of talking and they've got nothing to say. It's just all of this like weird melange of folks that show up, and some of them are the good people that are producers and can take us to the next level, and some of them are people that need to be lifted up to be good people. But too many of them are in that state. Whereas here, we have so many of us that are already the people who make the gears go round in civilization. And so we can pick up those who need to be picked up. We can redeem those. And all of us really have to be, in one shape or form, redeemed, because this is a movement of redemption. We all have skeletons in our closets. We all have things that we could do better. We all have broken parts of ourselves. We all have had those moments when we have cried over this injury or that error or that failing. We all have had those moments. You can come here and be renewed. You can come here and be whole again. That is the difference. That is why we are growing, and we will continue to grow. And when we begin having our well-being symposiums, and when we begin having our well-being hikes and things like this, it's not going to be like the past. It's not going to be this really sad graph that it takes like 3 conference rooms to run this graph slowly over year after year. After you've even broken down into decades, it feels like to see growth. It's really going to be spikes like that all the way. It's already happening, and it will continue to happen. Thank you for that great question. Seeing red. Luke super chatted $20 by way of the familiar alternative. Hope you're doing well, Jason. There are so many wonderful people in this community. Amen. Thank you for saying that. You're one of them, Luke. Thank you so much. And new ones becoming interested every day. The more I write with them, the quality of people is evident. Try reaching out to folks. Thank you all. Absolutely. Try reaching out, folks. Try reaching out. I want you all. And based on Luke's super chat, thank you very much, Luke. I want each and every one of you to speak to someone new in some way, big or small, about Going Free this coming week. It could start today and throughout the rest of the week to next Saturday, and we'll talk about it next Sunday if you have something you want to share. It can be something small. It can be something much bigger. I want you to confront someone with something this coming week in Luke's name. Thank you very much, Luke. All right. You all are still, if you want to super chat by way of Entropy, I believe you still can. I'm just not seeing the previous super chats. And if I didn't get to your super chat on Entropy, please tag me in the chat here on YouTube, and I will read it on YouTube. I will see the message on Entropy later. It's just not coming up at the investment later. It's just not coming up at the moment. Veritas writing, have you seen the video of the first ever Polish Pride Parade? The Polish anti-white parade being blocked by a group of Christian conservatives. It was beautiful. The Polish will be our hope in the future. Well, you do know that it was Poland that got Jared Taylor banned from the Schengen zone. So do never put your faith in, never again, never in a government, never in an individual, never a politician, never this leader or that leader, never again. From now on, the way we undermine the control of the leadership, the office, this is the 200 level of IQ for those who are behind the chair of the office, ladies and gentlemen, is they control the office. They control the individual from behind the scenes. The way we undermine that is by you and me deciding whether or not the office, the individual, the government, whatever the entity might be, that we decide that it is good when it serves white well-being, and it is for the refuse bin when it doesn't. So we can love a guy today because he's doing X, Y, or Z for white well-being, and if tomorrow he decides he's going to do something that is going to inflict harm on white well-being, we show up at that bastard's house. What he did the day before doesn't matter. We show up out, now we don't do violence. We show up at his house with placards. We show up at his work with placards, and we tell him what we think of him, so that when the anti-whites, and we absolutely, I'm going to say again, for the anti-white censors, we oppose war, we oppose violence of all sorts, and we believe that no good will come to us and our cause by any act of violence or illegality whatsoever. Only bad will come to our cause, our people, and our efforts to bring love to our people by any single act of illegality or violence. So we not only reject violence, but we reject a positive outcome by way of violence. You let the person, the leader, the government, the chair, the empty chair of the office, you let them know what you think about them when they decide they're going to serve some anti-white objective because their handlers have told them so. Then what ends up happening is when the handlers, when the anti-whites with the money, the anti-white elites show up and they say, okay, we've built up this great halo effect on you. Now you're going to lead them down a dead-end alley. He or she's going to say, well, wait a second. They're going to show up with placards. They're not going to accept this. They're not going to just say, well, I was a good guy yesterday. They're going to say, what the hell am I doing today? That is how we undermine them. This is game theory, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 3D chess that so many people joked about when it came to Donald Trump and we're all wrong about. And I said back then was preposterous. All of that's on video. All of that, all of those predictions I made, all of those things I said, they're all in video. I said, how many times do I have to say these things? I talk about Yang Gang. I talk about all these different things. How many times? This is how you undermine those efforts. All we need to do is implement it. So thank you very much. We have Rockwell, Commander Rockwell. I've learned a lot watching Cultured Thug. It is. I've learned a lot watching Cultured Thug. Wonder if No White Guilt would ever have him on as a guest. Yeah, we have that on our list, I think, Jared, George, and I. Seeing Red writes, No White Guilt, good, very encouraging, thank you. I see some talk about Katie Hopkins. I see some questions in there. Seaver Hamlin writing, we win the fully legal way. Amen. Exactly. Yeah, you don't go on a field where you have no chance. I mean, we talk about this when it comes to arguing. We talk about this. The anti-whites want to vector you into some sort of violent confrontation because you stand less of a chance with them than you do a snowball's chance in Northern Virginia right now at 108 degrees. You have no chance in a contest of violence. So they want to vector you onto that So they can sweep you aside like a gnat, and then they can say, look, this proves the anti-white narrative. Let's get into this. Document, and then we'll be ready for Poseidon whenever he's going to start. So, what is the most powerful motivator? What is the most powerful motivator, ladies and gentlemen? The most powerful fuel for human motivation. What is it? Does anybody know? Yonash asks, do the dialectics cross the language barriers? It's in just about every single case I've had with foreign speakers, they're having success. And there's no doubt that we're going to have to, smart people will modify the dialectics for their specific contexts in their countries. So there won't need to be a radical change, and yes, they will work, because we're talking about the Western kind. It's the same people, so we're speaking to their souls, we're speaking to their biospirit, so it'll work with everybody. Societal approval is a guess here. The community. This is the most powerful fuel for human motivation. What else do we have? Alcohol drops IQ points. Yes, it does. Does anybody have any guesses? Get some coffee. 30-year-old boomer says, doing your ancestors proud is a powerful motivator. Yes, it absolutely is. I concur. But that's not where we're getting at today. Great thought, though. The will to power, Eminent Rain says. Family, another good. You guys are all saying great ones. I should say, not just guys, but you ladies and gentlemen are coming up with some great responses. Coffee. Is that a suggestion? The most powerful human motivator. It's actually, there have been many studies done on coffee and its effects on the brain. So we could talk about that too. So let's see. Sex. It's an absolutely powerful motivator. All right. The most powerful motivator, ladies and gentlemen. Now listen closely, because does anybody know, by the way, when Poseidon is starting? If you could tag me in the chat. Survival, individual, and collective. Yes, indeed. Rod, thank you for the entropy super chat. I don't see. Are you trying to bring their attention to the super chats? I'm looking at their super chats, but I don't see. Did you super chat me over there and I didn't read it? If so, I will see it later. So go ahead and tell me what your super chat was and what your statement was. I thought I saw all of them, but when I refreshed, they all went away. So I just want to make sure. I see. So 8 o'clock. He's going to start at 8 o'clock. Really? That late? Okay. That's very late. Phoenix Fire says 1 hour. Okay. Okay, so we have some time. Let's get to it, folks. We're going to make this happen. I'm going to empower all of you with the same tools that I use to drive me day after day after day, and in some cases, depending on the people who are observing, to heights that some folks would say are, some folks have said, in fact, parahuman. So I'm not saying that about me. I don't believe that. I am a regular guy, and I'm going to tell you all how to do the exact same things that I do. I will teach every one of you. Why? Because I made it my life's mission. When I was in 7th grade, when I was 11 years old, I realized that there would be nothing I could do, no matter how intelligent I was, no matter how educated I could be, no matter how good at anything I could become. I could never do anything to take on the anti-white monstrosity that leered above me and down at me. And I couldn't even comprehend, even then, its totality. But I knew that it was well beyond the acts of any man or woman to take on. So I thought, what could I do? How could I help? And that's when I realized that if I could free our people of anti-whiteism, I could unleash the great Western spirit inside of each one of you. And if I could help in whatever way or whatever measure possible to unleash that powerful Western spirit within inside of you, there is an Armstrong inside of you. There is a Da Vinci inside of you. There is a Robert E. Lee inside of you. Those abilities and talents and one's names that we don't know today will come out, and they will be the force that the world trembles before. They will be the force that when they say enough is enough, the world will tremble. That is what I've dedicated my life to, and I will help each and every one of you to tap in to that resource and that power so that we can unleash that energy and recapture our destiny. So let's do this. The most powerful fuel in the world is love. Misunderstood. Misunderstood. This isn't a Hallmark card. I'm not about to tell you something that you would read in a Hallmark card. The most powerful fuel in the world is love. But love has, and this is where it goes wrong, love has an immense weakness to it. When love is not paired with the other powerful motivator that I'm going to talk about, another powerful force. When love is not paired with that force, love is like a photograph of a rose. It's beautiful in every intricate way, but it is still, it is inert. It lacks motion. And when love lacks motion, it becomes melancholy. How many times have all of you felt and been motivated by love, felt extreme, deep love for something, for someone, but it was love in and of itself? And then you found yourself in very short order drifting into melancholy and into then outright depression as a consequence. That is the dynamic, the dichotomy of love, ladies and gentlemen. It is this supreme power that, if it is not coupled, will drain you of your strength and your vitality. By itself, it is a still photograph. By itself, it is not an engine. Does that make sense? People are saying yes. Mrs. Horst, yes, exclamation points. Andre, yes, exclamation points. Alexis, deep. Luke, well said. The cure to this, then, love by itself. Love when it's not paired with this other thing that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Love, as I say, when it's not paired, is a still photograph of a rose. Beautiful, but lifeless. Alluring, but meaningless. Tempting, but out of reach. And therefore melancholy sets in, and therefore depression. Love becomes this great power when it is wed with passion. That is when love is truly something to be reckoned with. When passion drives love, it then is no longer a photograph. It's then a blooming rose in front of you, the opening of the bud, the redolence reaching into your soul, the flowering of every single petal. That is when love becomes beautiful. That is when love becomes something that truly empowers you and doesn't send you down a melancholic road. That is the big difference. That is the big secret. So then the next question is, what passion then motivates that love so that it can truly become something magical and strong? And we had some of the questions, we had some answers coming up here a moment ago. What are some of the drivers of passion? We had someone say sex, lust, absolutely. A calling to an art, right? You feel like you have to create a masterpiece. You can be very passionate about that. What are some of the other things that drive passion? Does anybody know? 30-year-old boomer says, well said. Love, be it for our people or what, is what allows us to do whatever it takes for it, to live for, to die for. Amen. Rachel writes, Jason has a way with words. Thank you very much. Eminent Rain writing, Prometheus was exploited for his love. He absolutely was in Prometheus Rising. Artmaker says, you explain things very well. Thank you. I want you all, you're all going to leave here with so much more power than you arrived. Whether you're live or watching this in replay, you're going to have the tools that you didn't have before, most of you. Some of you obviously will have already thought of this. But I'm sharing it with all of you. Will, Germanic writes, will, courage, honor, duty, those are things you can be passionate about. Absolutely. A sense of the future and time. Absolutely. Pride in one's people. Absolutely. Our ancestors. Absolutely. All of those things are. There's one thing that I haven't seen mentioned yet. At least I don't think. If somebody mentioned it, I apologize. Ladies and gentlemen, the passion that needs to be paired with love. Phoenix Fire just said it. Anger. That is what gives love life in a way that nothing else in this universe can. It is the absolute essence of the rose. It is the nutrients that come up through its soil, the flame of life that infuses every leaf and petal, every mote of redolence that floats upon the airs and reaches your nose and descends into your spirit, into your very essence. That is the power of love. That is its true engine, is anger. And the anti-whites want to turn you away from anger. For that very reason. Now, how do most people respond to anger? Ryan Manley says anger. How do most people respond when they feel anger? They internalize it, don't they? They get angry about something and then they internalize it. They eat it. They pack it down deep into their spirit, down deep into their solar plexus, where it will do the most harm. It causes a great deal of stress when you take anger and you bury it in your heart. And stress deteriorates the body in so many ways. Stress becomes what? Stress becomes self-destruction. Stress becomes self-delusion. Stress becomes drug abuse. Stress becomes sexual promiscuity. Stress becomes depression. Stress becomes self-mutilation. Stress causes us, when we bury it like this, when we bury the anger like this, stress causes us to lash out at those around us, which very often are the people who mean or should mean most to us, the people who do the most for us. We end up lashing out at them because we have buried anger that we feel. Yeah, ladies, I know some of you right now, I know that some of you right now are tearing up right now listening to this, live or in replay. I can feel it right now in my heart. Some of you right now are hearing and seeing yourself. You know that you have felt that anger, and you know that you have buried it deep in your soul. And then you have allowed it to torment you, and then to lash out and harm those you should care about most. The son in your house who is back talking, the daughter who stayed out too late, the husband who hasn't gotten the toilet fixed yet. And instead of reaching out in love, you have lashed out with the anger that you buried in you. The anger that stems from these mean pathogens. The anger that stems from a life of living in hell, an anti-white hell, where they can discriminate against you and me and everybody we care about. And we have to pretend that we are the privileged ones or defined as evil in their world. And you have taken all of that anger and you have buried it in your heart. And then you have harmed those you care about. I know right now, tears are coming out of your eyes as you think about the tears that you have evoked from the eyes of those you care about. That is white noir, ladies and gentlemen. That is the evil the anti-whites have inflicted upon us. And now I'm going to tell you how to win. The thing that makes us most angry, because we are the best of our community, the best of the white race, is anti-whiteism. Everywhere we go, every commercial we see, every movie trailer we look at, every newspaper we pick up, every magazine cover we see across 100 magazine covers at the supermarket, every single one, we see anti-whiteism. Every television show you watch, every movie you turn on, the radio channel that you flip to, everything is anti-white. Every last thing. In your children's workbooks, in the class you have to take at work, in the firing of you from your job so that they can hire somebody of a different ethnicity and race to take your place. All of that infuses anger inside of you. And you bury it. And you suffer from it. And you make those around you suffer. This is what you do. This is how you win. This is how I win every day. When you feel that anger, it is a great energy. It is a great energy. When you see that commercial, when you pick up that textbook, when you see what they're trying to teach your nephew, when you get that call to come to that anti-white tribunal because you expressed an opinion the anti-whites didn't like, you were a heretic. When you're not taken into that school, but the dumb kid down the street who happens to be of another race is. When that anger wells up inside of you, I want you to remember the love you have for Western kind and wed that anger to that love and use it as an engine to accomplish your objectives. When you're called before that anti-white tribunal next time and they lambaste you, you're not going to drive from work stewing in the car over how unfair it is and then get home and yell at your wife or husband. When the teacher calls you out of class to tell you you won't say that again, you're not going to wait until you get home to yell at your roommate or your mother. You are immediately going to use that energy to make a plan, a new project, the next leafleting, the next song, the next painting, the next sculpture. And each time you do that, each time you take that energy and you wed it to the love for our people and you do something great for our folks, even if it is a single flyer in a single book, if that's all that you can do to start, each time you do that, it will become a habit and you will do great and glorious things for our folk. You will cross mountaintops as I have crossed mountaintops. There is nothing that stops love when it's fueled by the anger of those who harm our people. There is no force in this universe greater than love fueled by anger over the harm inflicted on our children. And there's another side to this. That next time that you're feeling depressed or black-pilled or miserable, that next time you think that we don't have a chance, that next time you feel like letting go, like hiding in your bedroom and running the curtains closed, that next time, I want you to do what I do. Turn on the TV. Watch 5 minutes. Open up the newspaper. Read 5 paragraphs. Turn on YouTube. Watch what they recommend. And if you want to then go and hide after seeing the infliction of harm on our people, you're not ready to be an adult. You're not ready to take up this challenge, or the greatest challenge, the most heroic fight in the history of our people. Instead, you take what would have been that indolence and you find that fuel in the society all around us, that rage that wells in you when you see the infliction of harm, when you see what they have done to our people. Let me tell you this, in no place on planet Earth is there more fuel to be found than what they do to our brothers and sisters, children and grandparents, cousins, nieces and nephews in South Africa. You look to what they do to our people. You look to what people like Cross Eyes on the right write about it. And you let that fire burn bright in your heart. And you wrap our love in it. And you watch that thing become the supernova of existence. You watch it become the most fiery fuel that could drive any engine from here to the end of time. It has worked for me every time. And I know, I've taught other people this. I know that some of you will, the first time will go out and you'll see the things that are ugly. You'll see the anti-white attacks and you'll feel down. You'll feel lugubrious. You'll feel like giving up. That is when you have to exert your willpower. That is when you have to take control. That is when you say, no, today I'm going to use this rage to take action. I'm going to use this affront to do something good for our people. You will never know how powerful you can be until you take the anger that wells up inside of you from the infliction of harm by the anti-whites and you wed that to the love of our people. You will never know that power until that very moment. And when you do, there is no going back. When you do, you will never give that up. That I can promise you. And when you do it, I want you to come back to our community. And I want you to tell us about how it worked for you. I want to hear about, unlike all of the other elements in the white positive sphere, where they get together, and this is how it used to be all the time. They would get together and say, I know something horrible that the anti-whites have done. And then the other guy says, or woman, I know something worse that they've done. And then someone across the room, I know something even worse. And all they do is lament the anti-whites doing this and the anti-whites doing that. And they bury that anger and they ruin themselves and they take it out on their loved ones. You are not going to be like that. We are not going to be like that. When you come to me, whatever your name is, when you come into our circle and you say, I was watching the television and I saw 7 commercials in a row promoting race desecration of all Westmen. And then I was so furious, I went out and I wrote a new song. I went out and I passed out leaflets 2 nights later to 2,000 houses. That is what happens in this community. That is when we win, ladies and gentlemen. Use the anger of their harm, created by their harm, to fuel our effort to recapture our destiny. And there is no limit to our potential. This I can promise you. The last thing I want to say on that is the word hate is used as an anti-white slur. It is a tool of white oppression. We don't use the word hate. But in general, the word hate doesn't exist. There's no such thing. Hate is an improper view of anger. It is a perspective of anger from a broken place. They say, ignorant people will say, hate will eat you up. Hate will do this. You can't hate. And what really they're trying to talk about in their ignorance is the anger. And the anger will eat you up if you don't put it to use. But here in the white positive, white well-being, going free sphere, we put the anger to use. We use it to fuel us every time we see it. Every day we come across it. And when we feel down, when we feel like we don't have any more stamina, when we feel like there's no more left in the tank, we turn on the TV and we fill it back up. And for that, we can thank the anti-white bastards. So let me see what you all have to say about that and see if there's anything else that anybody wants to talk about before we move on and get ready for the Poseidon stream tonight. Master R writes, this is very synchronistic. No white guilt. I was just banned from Facebook for 30 days. So I went out and bought printer ink, designed some new posters, and am putting them out today. Amen. Well done. Wed the anger to your love for our people. Wed the anger to your love for our people and take action. Maiden says, I wonder how much of anger management is genetic. It's a good question, but now you all know. This is not, because I'm not charging you, doesn't mean that what I just shared. I mean, all of these self-help folks who have made themselves decamillionaires and even billionaires. I think even with what was this Robinson, this guy's name, this motivational character. They will charge you enormous sums of money to tell you what I just told you. Don't conclude that because I did not charge you an enormous sum of money, that there's no value there. In fact, I am going to say right now to all of you out there who realize the value in this, use it, come back to our chats, come back to our threads, and share as it has helped you, so that the others who are doubtful, because you grow up in a society where if something is not very expensive, it doesn't have value. And so they're doubtful. I want you all to come back with the successes that you have. Let's see what else we have. JT Smith says, Jason is a warrior physically, intellectually, and spiritually. Thank you. And we all can be. Righteous anger, when Windhammer says. Yes, indeed. We can all be this. I expect you all to wed your anger to the love for our people and turn it to action. And you're going to find something that is truly amazing, is that the other thing that you'll discover is that the stress that is normally created by internalizing the anger is gone. It evaporates. Right now, many of you listening to my voice, and perhaps also seeing me on the camera, are living lives where you are just burdened by oppressive stress. Much of that is going to be due to the anger of what the anti-whites are doing to us. Shed all of that. Shed every element of that, and you will feel how much lighter you are, how much healthier you are, how much better your organs work, how much better your skin looks and feels, how much better your vision is, how much better you sleep at night. Vampire Squid says they're getting creative with miscegenation propaganda. Recently, I saw an Oriental man with a Nordic woman. Indeed, yeah. All right. Well, it has been a fantastic time with you all. Let's see. I think we have another. Slots donated $10. Did I read this one? No, I did not. On the familiar alternative. Thank you very much for that kind super chat. That is why $10 super chat. That is why they want to say whites don't exist. You cannot love what does not exist. Beautifully said. Perfectly said. They want to say that we don't exist and therefore you can't love it. Perfectly said. All right, let's see what else we have here. I want us all to go out into the white positive sphere, into our lives, into the living rooms with our families, into the car trips with our friends. And I want you all to use this. I want you all to use the things that we've talked about today. I want you to turn your anger to action for our people. Turn on the TV, open a book, watch a new movie, or even an old one for that matter, and let yourself get angry. Let yourself feel the fury as you should feel it. Because remember the MC, anger is a virtue when it protects the innocent. I want you to wed that anger with the love for our people, the love for our children, our elderly parents and brothers and sisters. And I want you to immediately think about what you can do with that anger. Don't wait until you're calm and feeling torpid and not like doing anything before you think about what you can do. Get angry. Wed that with the love of our people. And then think about what you can do. Because I'm going to tell you what. If you're angry, you're going to be able to run through a wall of fire compared to what you think you're capable of doing when you're passive, when you're sitting in that recliner, when you feel at ease. Anger and love is the real message. The most powerful human motivators. I see Syntheside is here. Great to see you, my good friend. A great example of a hero, musician, maker as well of our people. who has stepped up, made a great song using my great piece, using some of my verbiage, and it's going to reach a great many more people than I would have ever reached. So I thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Here's Jennifer P. Just as we're getting ready to sign out, great to see you. I will take any, if anybody has any more questions, they want me to speak to any of the news that is going on. I have a couple other notes here. I don't know if Poseidon is started streaming. Was it 7 or 8 that he was going to start? You all said earlier, but I got some mixed numbers. Commander Rockwell says, thanks for reminding me about my 5-mile run that I'm going to do in an hour or so. Run a little bit for me and the rest of us as well. Thank you for that. I want to thank everybody who has been here moderating. It is a difficult job to moderate. You can get blowback for asking people to have productive conversation rather than destructive conversation. So I thank everybody who has moderated today. I know Phoenix Fire was here. I think Julie Storm might have done some moderating today. I know I saw her here as well. It must have been, I think the lion's share fell onto Phoenix Fire. So thank you so much for that. We're going to be talking more with you, Seaver. Thank you so much for being here. And thank everybody for asking questions. Everybody, so much deepest thanks from the bottom of my heart for the super chats, which go, every one of them, we do things a la silhouette so that they can be made to happen on as few dollars as possible. We know how to manage money here, so there is no worry about squandering of the important sums. Vampire Squid says that Poseidon is 50 minutes away from starting, so we are not in stepping on my good friend's toes. Thank you so much for that info. 30-year-old Boomer says, much love, brother. Great show as always. Much love in return. Master R says, how would you suggest we balance comforting anti-white whites, confronting them when they share anti-white MPs and trying to win them over? It depends on how anti-white the individual is that you're dealing with. And you learned quite a little bit of how to handle that, both in Go Free and in Born Guilty, where I deal with many different anti-whites. I share the stories that different conflicts that I've had, confrontations, and you'll learn a lot about that here. If you have a question about how to handle a specific encounter with the anti-white, let me know. And whether it's in the future and you've had the conversation and you come back, I will happily tell you if you were unsuccessful, if I tell you how you might have been able to do better, or applaud what you have done. Maybe you'll come back with some way better, some idea that's better than we're already using, and we will adopt it. Luke, another powerful stream. Thank you. Coconut, you do such a great job. You work very hard. Thank you so much. And thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for absorbing this information and taking it out to the other elements in the white positive sphere. Germanic writes, hail Phoenix Fire, hail all you beautiful white people for being here, my family. Indeed. We are the actual kernel of something true and magical, ladies and gentlemen. This is something unusual. I will tell you that. All the years I have been in the white positive sphere, and there has been nothing truly like this. There have been big gatherings of people, so that if we were just going to be counting heads, there have been numerous people present in certain places. But what you had in these places were a bunch of individuals who had shown up because they have a similar interest, like a comic book rally or something. This is something unique. This is something that is true to its core, something that is beautiful, a seed planted in the richest of soil that has already broken through the cusp of the seed and is working its way to the soil. That green shoot will come through any moment, and the glorious sun of the western sunrise will rain down on that leaf, gilding it for all time. And it will grow into a mighty oak, and it will cast its boughs long over the hills, and it will flow in the wind and throw its seeds far and wide, and there will be nothing. When we unite love for our people and the anger of harming them together, and the using of that union for the energy of our works, our great and heroic works that will be remembered for all time, there is nothing that we cannot do. Ladies and gentlemen, anger is a virtue when it protects the innocent. Let's go free.